Welcome, buddy, to another BDA Boxing podcast, broadcasting to you live from the true north. This is your host, Mr. BDA. My co-host, King Bucho, should be here shortly, enjoying this Sunday afternoon. I got a nice spring background here for you. That's a Canadian spring right there from the plains of Alberta, I believe. It's not looking like that here in Quebec. It's actually a rainy day. I love me some rainy days. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We got a lot to talk about. Quick recap of last night's fights. Had a little bit of something for everybody. Power punching. Slick boxing skills. That's right, I said slick. Why not? And a little something of in between. First of all, I gotta give a shout out to everybody in the chat room. Subhash Kunwar, Rascal222, Mr. Coxey, Aaron Kuko, Boxing Battenberg, Dale Boys Boxing News. What's the MOBC, by the way, that Rascal just brought up? MOBC. I think I've heard that before. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Somebody can keep me up to date. Aaron Cook says my province. Now, set me straight. Is that Alberta or is that one of the other provinces of Canada? Let me know in the comments. Rascals is my own boxing community. Oh, yeah. So that's what it means, my own boxing community. Glenn Rodwell, shout out to Glenn, says, BDA, you said slick. Yeah, that's right, I said slick. I break my own rules here at BDA. What do you want from me? It's like Tony Soprano. Not Tony Soprano, the main character, the cousin, played by Steve Buscemi. Remember, he had that sign up in his office that said, because I'm the boss. That's a sign I got right here. I'm the boss. I get to say slick, slippery, whatever else I want. Whether it offends people, whether it offends me, I do it all, baby. What's up, BDA? Says Boxing Killers TV and Bucho. I'll tell you, Bucho's going to get here soon. Aaron Cook says, looks like Alberta to me. Yeah, that sounds about right. Alberta. All right, listen. We're going to get some people here eventually. If the regular people that listen to the show are listening, just give me a heads up if you want to join, and I'll send you the invite. Again, I'm not going to be here for too long, because again, like Boxing Killer says, you broke the BDA record yesterday. You guys are hardcore. Yeah, we did 7 hours and 30 minutes last night. Oh, by the way, I got to just say something. The stream, the internet cut off at the last minute. So that's why we didn't say goodbye, or we didn't make a proper goodbye. That's why I didn't thank everybody. And I did thank people prior to it going out, but it's just those last couple of words didn't get through. That's why it was a very abrupt ending. And I want to thank everybody that was here. Recognize Stu, Precise, Boxing Styles, Cameron, Vic Martirioson was here for a while as well. And, you know, Stu stayed with us as long as he could, man. It was 4 in the morning over there in England, so props to him for staying up that long. Boxing Styles and Recognize the Matrix stayed until the end. I know there were other people in the chat room as well. Yeah, people in the chat room were fucking cracking me up with their comments. Who was it? Was it it was Shepard Sons, I think, that said that Jerome Miller at the Wayne, he was so fat he looked like he had a camel toe. You fucking people in the chat room, I gotta reiterate it again. You people in the chat, I think this is the best chat room in the world. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but hey, what do you want from me? Like I said, I'm the boss. I get to say what I want. Hyperbole, exaggeration, whatever. But very good fucking fights last night. Very good fights. And if you guys think that BDA, you're getting a little tired of boxing talk, that's what we're only going to do about 2 hours. And if you still haven't gotten your YouTube boxing fix, Cameron, I hear, is going to be doing a podcast on his channel. I think a little later after ours is done. So go on and check out his podcast if you still want some boxing news or boxing talk. Boxing Killer says, you start about 10 p.m. and finish at 5 a.m. Okay, you're in England, right? You're in the UK across the pond. So here we finished at about 12:30 a.m. And over there in England, it was 5 a.m. or close to it. Delboy asks, when will another second Renaissance stream happen? I want to do one this week. But I want to try to mix it up a little bit. You know, we're doing MGTOW stuff the other day. So we're going to... By the way, I think I see that Bucho is on the line. Bucho, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
The king is here.
You can have Kenny Bayless as a referee in every single fight. So you're all happy.
The king is here.
All right, Bucho, thanks for joining me. I was just explaining what happened last night. Bucho, we did 7 hours and 30 minutes last night. We have broken the record. You got some catching up to do. I'll tell you that much right now. You want to break my record?
Yeah, at some I can break it, but just not yet.
Oh, so you're pretty confident you can break the record, huh?
Oh yeah, man.
You think you're
Just
better
a
than me?
little
Is
bit
that
of
what's going on here?
Coffee, maybe some other types of substances, just to keep me awake.
Yeah, a little ephedrine. Hey guys, what's pimping? Says Pavel. Shout out to Pavel. Yeah, Delboy is asking when we're gonna do another second Renaissance. So, Bucho, I don't know when you got anything planned
For when?
for second Renaissance. I mean, you want to do one? When should we do one?
I want to talk about artificial intelligence, but that's the only thing that comes to my mind right now. This is the
Okay.
only subject.
Now, there was a lot of fucking fights, a lot of good fights. Like I was saying, a little bit of everything for everybody. Somebody told me that I had forgotten, but Anthony Durrell fought last night against some guy that looked like he was from Kazakhstan, I think. I didn't know. I think Durrell won, but I can't see exactly by how many. It was a unanimous decision, but trying to look out here. Okay, so I'm looking at boxing scene. Anthony Durrell says the champs at 168 better look out. I thought I did well tonight for boxing, he said. I don't think I lost a round. Two of the judges. Oh, it was a split decision. Now what? I can't see the. Okay, 10 rounds of action. All three judges scored the bout in favor of Durrell, 100 to 89, and two scorecards of 99-90. So officially, he did lose a round in 2 cards. But I gotta tell you, starting off with Anthony Durrell, Bucho, I think he's a pretty good fighter. He might be more psychologically strong than his brother Andre, but you know that the 168-pound division is full of interesting fights right now. It's shaping up to be quite a division.
Yeah, it's a very good division. It's unfortunate that the World Boxing Super Series didn't have a lot of these big names, but yeah, hopefully they will fight each other.
Absolutely, man. Hopefully. And apparently the World Super Boxing Series is trying to do one at featherweight, I think. Is that what they said?
Somebody mentioned junior welterweight. I think Cameron said that.
Yeah, junior welterweight. But then again, it might end up being like the 168-pound version where you don't get the big names. You know, you only get a couple of European guys who are willing to do it, but all the other big names, they want to stay away. But if they could get the big names, oof, that would be fantastic.
Oh, fuck yeah.
What do people say? Nicola Ferrari, shout out to Nicola, says, hard to say, killers, different styles. Dogboe showed the dog, says boxing killers. Meanwhile, Cachano says, Jacobs looked like he doesn't want the belts anymore. Money fights is what he's after. Well, he is 31. Clock is ticking. I think he wants to get paid right away. Delboy says, Jorge Lara got KO'd also. Pavel says, those Wakanda walkouts were pure cringe. I had to switch tabs because of that. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I was thinking about that. Like, you know, if somebody wants to come in, like Mexicans come in all the time in Mexican attire, you know, the mariachi and all that with the ponchos. But that's, you know, people still dress like that when they go to parties and all that. The African attire, first of all, Daniel Jacobs, and I don't know, I'd like to hear some feedback from Black Americans. Most Black Americans, from what I understand, from the ones that I've talked to, they don't consider themselves Africans. In fact, if they go to Africa, the Africans don't even consider them Africans. They consider them Americans, fake Africans. They don't consider them real
Apparently,
black.
Jacobs came out with the song from that movie, Black Panther.
Yeah, he came dressed like with some African attire, but
yeah, and Baby Miller also, he came dressed like the Black Panther. He had like the mask. So I don't know if somebody told it was like a PR thing.
I tell you what, it looked like a grindhouse double feature, you know, blaxploitation all over the place. But that's what I'm trying to get at here, Bucho, is that if you know, when Mexicans come out with the Mexican attire, nobody says anything about it. But when Jacobs and Miller come out with the Black Panther attire, all of a sudden everybody's got something to say about that. But my point is that
who's saying anything?
No, I'm saying it because some people might, you know, say, well, wait a minute, why can't they come dressed with African attire? But it's because what I'm trying to get at is, are they really Africans, or do they consider themselves Americans You know what I mean? Because like I'm saying, if a black American goes to Africa, you know, Nigerians and all that, they don't consider them true African brothers. I mean, not all of them, but the majority, from what I've heard. So it's kind of bizarre that they came out dressed with that African attire. But hey, like you said, it might have been a PR move, and it did get some people talking. So, but anyway, let's talk boxing. I mean, who the fucking cares? This isn't the fashion channel. I want to talk about first Dogboe, Isaac the Boy, because that was the fight that I was looking forward to the most. And you guys know I love me some body punching, and I wasn't sure how Dogboe was going to handle Magdaleno's speed, and vice versa. I didn't know how Magdaleno was going to handle Dogboe's power. Well, Dogboe got off to a rocky start, getting dropped early in the fight, but then he took over. He was mauling Magdaleno, beautiful body punching. And Bucho, like we were saying last night, a lot of people think, oh, you know, coming forward, putting pressure is easy. You know what? It might be easy to walk forward, but walking forward and barely taking a punch is a very hard thing to do indeed. And Dogboe showed you how to put pressure on without getting hit.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, coming forward fighters, it's like, oh, so that means they're basic. Well, depends how you come forward. If you're not come forward with no defense at all, then that's not impressive. You actually might have the skills to come forward and actually block some punches, evade some punches, and still be effective coming forward. And hey, that's Dick's skills, right?
That's right.
And I guess some people could say Dogboe fought Mexican style in this fight.
But listen, he showed some very good bobbing and weaving. And Magdaleno, like I said, he started well. He actually found his second win after he got dropped, because Dogboe did come back and dropped him. But Magdaleno, man, I mean, you know, it's interesting what we were talking about last night about how Magdaleno's one punch at a time shtick worked out against Donaire, who you can control with one punch at a time. Rigondeaux showed that, and Magdaleno showed that against Donaire. But against a guy who takes away that first punch, or is able to take it or make you miss, and he closes the distance, you gotta put some combinations behind that. And Magdaleno didn't do that, and he didn't have the power to keep Dogboe off of him. And you know,
yeah, that's what I said. The power is very important. Magdaleno just doesn't hit that hard. Dogboe never respected him in that fight. Well, I mean, I guess he did at the beginning, right? Because Dogboe got dropped, but after that, it just looked like, I don't know somebody mentioned it in the chat that mentally it looked like Magdaleno started to break down.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because you know, you're fighting a guy, you're hitting him with everything you've got, and the guy keeps going forward.
And that's the thing, Magdaleno
that can affect you mentally.
Magdaleno, exactly. Yeah, Magdaleno had never fought anybody that had been able to take his left hand, his quick left hand, and still came forward. And that can be psychologically, like you say, psychologically, that can put a guy out of the game, because you're used to guys staying away because of your speed. Now all of a sudden, this guy, not only is he walking through it or making you miss, but he's actually scoring to the body, putting you on the ropes, you know, teeing off on you. And Dogboe, that he showed he's a beast in there, man. An absolute beast. And also, you know, Kaiser Koba in the chat room, shout out to Kaiser, he says, Magdaleno is pretty sharp puncher himself. He landed some nice left hands to the body that Dogboe felt. That's the thing. If you don't have that much power, or if you can't get a guy's respect upstairs, go downstairs. And Magdaleno was doing that, but Dogboe was taking those left hands, man. And I will say this also. The body punches started to take away some of the steam off of Magdaleno's punches, and you saw Magdaleno kind of slapping a little bit with his shots at the end there, or near the end. So you gotta turn those punches over, man. You gotta. It's interesting, and Butcher, like when people have speed, but they don't really have that power, or at least not the power to hurt a guy like Dogboe. Really, Magdaleno, he could not box him. He was out of ideas. You know, he didn't have a plan. He didn't have the tools to stand in there and outwork Dogboe.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, no power.
Now,
this fight was at 122, right?
Yes. And that's where I was trying to. That's where I'm getting at here, because in about 2 weeks, when is that? It's on the undercard of Saddam Ali. By the way, for anybody that's not keeping up with the news, Saddam Ali was supposed to fight Liam Smith on May the 12th on HBO. Now Liam Smith dropped out because of an injury, so Saddam Ali still wants to fight on that date, and they're trying to find a replacement. But at this juncture, who knows who they can get. But on that undercard, Ray Vargas 122-pound champion or title holder, is going to be taking on Azat Hovhannisyan, tough Armenian who stopped Ronnie Rios in his last fight, something Ray Vargas can do. So Azat looking like a beast in there. Ray Vargas is going to be taking on him on May the 12th. And I got to tell you guys, this 122-pound division is starting to shape up. I would love to see the winner of Vargas and Avat up against Dogboe. Let's put up the super bantamweight rankings up on the screen. We did talk about it a little bit last night or last evening as well. But as you can see right there, you have Magdaleno at number 2. That's gonna change. They're gonna have to change that. Ray Vargas number 3. Avat isn't number 10. He's not rated in the top 10. Dogboe is probably gonna take either Magdaleno's place or Vargas's place. I tell you who, Dogboe, I think I would favor him against Diego De La Hoya. Absolutely. I'm not that familiar with Ceja or Iwasa. Gotta catch up on those fights. Moises Flores, I am familiar with him. But I don't know if he beats Dogboe. Daniel Roman, gotta watch him as well. But De La Hoya doesn't have the speed or the power to really, or the skills really, to beat Dogboe. Komeda, I would give him a good shot against Dogboe. That would be a very interesting fight. Vargas, on the other hand, let's talk styles matchups. Vargas has power, decent power. He's very tall for his division. He's definitely, I think, a better puncher or more active puncher than Magdaleno is. He's not as quick, obviously, either on feet or with his hand speed, but he does train with natural Verstein, so that tells you good things about his combination punching. But he's got to get through Avat Hovhannisyan, and I'm telling you, this 122-pound division is looking good. Now, Bucho, based on what
Vargas, Dogboe, the height difference.
Yeah, his Dogboe is pretty small for his division, man, or pretty short, I should say, not small.
Yeah, he's 5'3", and how tall is Ray Vargas?
Let me check it out.
5'8".
Let me see. I think he's about 5'8". Yeah, let me see. According to Boxing Sense, he's 5'7.5".
Yeah,
but since he's thin, he looks taller. So that, I mean, Dogboe did show he could get past Magdaleno's left hand. So he was doing a lot of bobbing and weaving and slipping the punches and all that. Very good defense coming forward. So I do think he could get past Ray Vargas. Ray Vargas didn't look, he's not a huge puncher, so he's more of a guy that's going to outwork you. So I would love to see that fight. But again, Vargas has to make it past Hovhannisyan, so that's not a given. That's not a given because Hovhannisyan, like I said, he beat Ronnie Rios. That fight's up on YouTube. Golden Boy Promotions put it up, so you can see that in full high definition for your asses. And it's gonna, I'm telling you, 122 pounds. But Bucho, based on how Rigondeaux looks, like let's say he can still look as good as he did prior to Lomachenko, or no, not prior to Lomachenko, prior to that fight he had on the Canelo Cotto undercard where he fought some Filipino guy and it looked awful. But do you think a sharp Rigondeaux could beat Dogboe?
No. What's the sharp Rigondeaux? I mean, the one that got dropped by the Japanese guy?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I mean, Dogboe is just too strong. He's gonna plow through that guy, man.
Yeah, because he plowed. I mean, how similar are in styles are Rigondeaux and Magdaleno?
Yeah, that's a good point.
The punch, punch at a time thing,
Yeah, and I'd say Magdaleno's even more active than Rigondeaux when it comes to volume of punches thrown, which is better in my opinion than throwing single shots and just moving around. I think at some point Dogboe cuts the distance and just starts landing his punches. And
by the way,
yeah, no, go ahead.
But the Fight Scout says Rigondeaux is 47 years old. I mean,
no, yeah, the age. I mean, yeah, because the way you asked the question is like, what about a Rigondeaux that we saw like 5 years ago or something like that? Like,
yeah.
Who cares? He's not that Rigondeaux is never gonna come back. And even like I said, even that Rigondeaux gets knocked out.
But I like that whole thing now that people are saying that these Cuban fighters they're in their 40s. I mean, like they're older than they're telling us. That's the meme that's going around now. Like Luis Ortiz is actually 45. Rigondeaux is actually 47. You started this, Bucho. You're one of the people that started this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look at them. They don't look their age. Well, unless you want to start talking about Cuban boxing, because I think that's where we're headed here.
No, I don't want to start. I don't want to start.
It's in decline. It's in decline, and I mean, some are saying that it's been exposed as the Cuban school of boxing. I mean, maybe it's not made for the professional ranks. Let's be honest, man.
Are we gonna go through? Are we gonna go down that rabbit hole again? The Cuban school thing.
Go ahead, Charlie. Keep dancing.
It's not gonna happen.
All right, let's skip that.
Not on my watch. All right, not gonna happen. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Subash Kunwar says Rigo is done. Yeah, that's what we're getting here. I think so. Walters versus Rigondeaux. Yeah, why not make Walters versus Rigondeaux? The winner gets to come back on television. Cachnello says Rigor Mortis is finished. Rigor Mortis. Hakuna Matata says Jacobs was overconfident. We're gonna get to that. Pavel says the Cuban boxers meme is dead. Don't even go there, guys. Yeah, I don't want to touch the Cuban thing right now. We've gone over it. Boxing Style says, shout out to Boxing Style says, even the KO Jacob did, even with the KO, he had at a 10-9 round. Whoa. So he thinks Sulecki actually won that round, but he got a point deducted because of the knockdown. Nicolo Ferrari says Jacob, oh, actually he had, I think Boxing Style had a 10-10, but 10-9 because of the knockdown. Nicolo Ferrari says Jacobs inconsistent. Jacobs. All right, so we're going to get to the Jacobs thing right now. We'll talk about Baby Miller later. But I mean, Dogboe, he made a fan of me. I had seen him. I'd only seen him fight Juarez and two other guys before when I did a little film study about it. But I'm a Dogboe fan. Definitely want to see him fight next. And he should be fighting on, I don't know who his promoter is. I know he fought on ESPN last night, but and you know what? Yeah, HBO. I was going to say he should be fighting on HBO, but then I thought, listen, ESPN has a bigger audience, so he should be fighting on ESPN. That way more people can appreciate him and his all-out action, octane, high-octane style. High voltage is like what I like to call it.
High voltage.
But anyway, let's get back to Jacobs versus Sulecki. Butch, I didn't get to get your thoughts on that. Like, what did you think of the fight? Who did you think won? How did you think
I think Jacobs won, but maybe it was a little bit closer than what some judges or what Letterman, how Letterman had it. I don't know. Maybe Jacobs was a little bit confident, thinking that this guy's smaller, and you know that Jacobs was going to be able to take him out. But well, impressed? I wasn't impressed.
Okay, now here's the thing. Some people have been telling me that I overrate Daniel Jacobs. I know Luis Catorce told me he didn't think Jacobs' defense was all that great. Now, after watching this, I do have to agree. It's not Pernell Whitaker type style defense. You know, he did get tagged, but he also showed a lot of good stuff there, rolling with the shots, rolling with the right hands. At some point, he wasn't. I know any other guy against Sulecki could have, you know, it would have been a horrible night for them.
But, Jacobs was getting countered though.
Yeah, he was getting. I thought Sulecki landed the cleaner punches for sure. He was the one snapping Jacobs' heads back. Jacobs was mostly landing to the body, and I give people credit for body shots, but it was a very, very tough fight, man. I'm not surprised because I knew Sulecki was good, but now, how much do you think the size played here? Because finally Jacobs was fighting somebody that was bigger than him.
Yeah, but then again, did Jacobs come in weighing the same as he weighed against Golovkin?
That's a good point. By the way, I see we got Precise on the line.
Dependent upon how you interpret the data.
What's up with all the transvestites in Hollywood, though?
Because if you're a postmodernist and you don't have any standards, you're always going to keep moving the goalpost, and you're never going to stick to your own standards because you don't have any standards.
That's right.
You don't have any idea of the facts.
You don't have any idea of the facts until Precise is here to tell you about them. Precise, thank you for being on. I hope you're having a good Sunday right now.
I'm working, so there might be a little bit of background noise. Let me know if it gets too annoying.
Don't worry about it. As long as there's nothing too much, you know, like pigs or chickens making too much noise. But we're talking right now, Jacobs Sulecki. I don't know if you want to give your thoughts on Dogboe versus... Well, first of all, did you watch the Magdaleno Dogboe fight?
I did. I enjoyed it very much. I agree with a lot of your observations. The whole one shot at a time thing is really what did him in. Even though I thought he was doing the right thing, that is Magdaleno. Punching was the puncher, trying to stop the unstoppable, I suppose. But it just didn't have enough power, obviously. And like you pointed out very aptly, you had a guy who was willing to throw two shots versus Magdaleno's one, and even if he didn't have the power advantage, eventually that would have worked in his favor. But because he did, and after he hurt him, what was it, the fifth round or something like that, and he destroyed his body completely. I just didn't think he was going to recover from that, and that broke him down ultimately.
Now, some people are making a big deal out of the fact that before the stoppage, Dogboe went a little bit low. Did you have a problem?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a low blow, so I could understand people complaining, but and no, you can't say that you know how the fight would have ended, but I feel like it wouldn't have mattered anyway. And with Dogboe, unlike the crackhead from Oakland, who shall remain nameless, he didn't do it on purpose, right? Because he had no history of doing that, at least not in that fight. And Magdaleno's defense was pretty good to the body because he took a lot of body punches. So, he was looking for the body. Magdaleno wasn't really giving it to him, and he strayed low. You know what I mean? Shit happens. In a perfect world, the referee would have stepped in and given Magdaleno time to recover, and the fight would have gone on two more rounds, maybe. I don't know. He was winning that fight no matter what. He had to have been up on the cards unless there was some major corruption going on. And okay, maybe he wouldn't have stopped him, but he wasn't losing that fight.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, he was putting it on Magdaleno, man. I mean, vicious attack. And it's like when people say, "Oh, it's easy to come forward." Dogboe was showing good defense coming forward, man. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be done. That type of pressure.
He is very tricky. Like, there doesn't seem to be a lot to his repertoire. At least, I mean, this is the first time I see him fight, but he has excellent reaction time, great timing. He's very fast. I mean, people talk about Magdaleno's speed. I did not see a speed difference there. He's fast, and he just finds the openings really well. You know what I mean? He's patient, even though he pressures you. He's very patient. He's got head movement, awkward upper body movement. Not an easy guy to hit.
Definitely not an easy guy to hit. And don't forget, 2012 Olympian. So he's got a bit of a pedigree there.
That. Yeah.
Now, I was mentioning also last night, we were talking about Magdaleno's power, because he did show some precision in there, especially to the body, but Dogboe, tough guy, was just coming forward. But what do you think about Magdaleno's punching power and his punching technique? Could he improve his power?
Anything's possible, I guess. The power looked okay early on, but I think Dogboe just took his confidence away from him, because Magdaleno was doing. Yeah, I don't think it. Look, if you don't have the punching power, obviously that's a disadvantage to a degree that you could compensate for with other things like skill, timing, right, speed, combination punching, and he was doing that early on in the fight. But after he got hurt, or even before that, you could tell that Dogboe's punching power really started to shut Magdaleno down mentally, and he was no longer coming in and exiting at angles the same way as he was early, which allowed him to outbox him in the early going, right? Like he no longer had that I think he just got a little shook. He was a little mentally, I think he was mentally affected and kind of let the game plan get away from him. Unless there's something that Dogboe did that I didn't notice that stopped Magdaleno from coming in and exiting out at angles, you know what I mean? But I think it was the punching power, and it, like Mike Tyson, that famous quote that I don't even have to repeat, I think that's what happened to Magdaleno. He had a game plan, and then he got cracked.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I mean, like, some people might... I mean, yeah, there might have been other little things that we might not have caught that Dogboe was doing, but I think the main one was, like what you said, he was working the body, he was getting past Magdaleno's shots and scoring with his own, and I think that took Magdaleno out of his game, man. He was thinking, what am I going to do here?
Yeah, he was definitely mentally affected, and you saw him trying to psych himself up by, egging Dogboe on, and his opponent wasn't buying it. You know what I mean? It was just bravado. It wasn't bravery. It was bravado, right?
Yeah, that was just a bunch of posturing to try to get Dogboe to think, yeah, you're not hurting me, but fuck, he was getting murdered in there. And that's the thing, we got in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, Ray Vargas is gonna be taking an Avad Hovanesian. I hope I'm spelling that fucking name right. Hovanesian. And Hovanesian stopped Ronnie Rios, who's a tough guy. Ray Vargas, who's undefeated, couldn't do it. But the winner of that fight, man, wouldn't you love to see the winner of that fight take on Dogboe, man?
Yeah, I mean, especially given the fact that Rigondeaux ducked Ray Vargas, so he must have seen something in the guy that's good, right? So, like you were saying, the division is heating up, and it's interesting now that Rigondeaux is basically out of the picture. You know, some of the guys that might have been ducking him are now starting to make noise or make themselves more visible, and some of the guys that Rigondeaux ducked are now getting a chance to shine.
Well, let's talk about Rigondeaux because I know he's one of your favorite fighters. Do you think he should? Do you think he should stay at go back to 122, or should he fight at 126? Or who should he fight at all?
I think, you know, whatever weight he feels comfortable at. You know, I wouldn't know what that is, but I have to assume that it's difficult for the man to make 122 because that's been his weight his entire career since the amateur. So I have to assume that it's gotten difficult, and maybe that's part of the reason why he was getting dropped so much at 122, and 126 could suit him better. You know what I mean? I think he has the attributes to compete. Whether or not he could win a title, might be a little bit too late. But hey, if you could get paid, and some of these guys could get shine of your, you know, still recognizable name, why not?
And by the way, do you think Rigondeaux getting dropped and all that, do you think that might have something to do with the fact that he's 45 years old?
Yeah, maybe. I think it's like I've said before. I think it's the malnutrition in the Cuban school of boxing, and the fact that these guys, they don't get brought up properly, and they don't really get used to taking shots because the focus is always to avoid them, right? And then they're used to big gloves and headgear and so on and so forth. So they experience a bit of shock when they get to the pros and then realize just how hard some of these guys are punching, right?
You know what? You just reminded me. I want to check out what are the glove sizes in Olympic boxing.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that, but you know, when Rigondeaux was fighting, headgear was still very much part of the sport. So I know it doesn't protect your face perfectly, but it does help. It does help.
You cut off there a little bit. What'd you say?
I said Rigondeaux fought his career, amateur career, wearing headgear. You know what I mean? So, and I do believe the gloves are bigger. They look bigger. At the very least, it's a different design. And then the focus is usually on scoring points, not knocking people out anyway. So guys, you know, tend to throw a lot of punches instead of focusing on big individual shots or setting up the big punch to get the knockout. So amateurs just don't hit it hard, period. And, you know, not a lot of them get that strength before they go pro anyway. So it is what it is.
Yeah, they don't. They're used to. I don't, like you said. I don't know how much that headgear plays a factor in there, but what I'm looking at here, it says amateur division 152 pounds and under, it's 10-ounce gloves, and 165 pounds and over, it's 12-ounce gloves. So definitely bigger gloves at the Olympic and amateur level than at the professional ranks. They're not used to getting, like you said, you know, 3 rounds explosive, just getting it out. That's what they're used to. Once they get into in the professionals, it's a marathon. And they got, you know, 8-ounce, 10-ounce gloves. They're not used to getting hit on the elbows for a long period of time. So it's mental. The mental toughness definitely comes into play. Now, people in the
you could run for 3-4 rounds, but can you maintain that for 12?
Yeah, that's the big question. And so far, you know, Gamboa couldn't really do it. Rigondeaux, you saw as soon as he encountered that Lomachenko style, he just gave up. He never even thought, hey, let me try to go for broke. Nicola Ferrari. Was that?
Rigondeaux. You said Gamboa. I think you meant Rigondeaux.
Yeah, well, Gamboa against Crawford and Rigondeaux against Lomachenko.
Also, yeah. Well, Gamboa was knocked down like 9 times or something like that in his entire career, if not more.
I think he gets dropped when he goes to the. Yeah, he gets dropped on the way to the ring too. I mean, this guy's fucking. He gets dropped by everybody. Mr. Cox, Nicolo Ferrari says Charlo is at least as tall as Jacobs and looks about the same in the ring. Okay, so now they're talking about Charlo versus Jacobs. I said Vanes beat Charlo, says Mr. Coxey. Hakuna Matata says, if anything last night's fight showed me is there is no one close to elite level of Triple G and Canelo. BDFPX says Charlo is big even at 160. Vanes is Hakuna. Pavel says, did you guys see Yeleusinov debut? His straight left is like a spear. I didn't see that guy fight. Oh, we're on in the chat here. Who's this guy, Yeleusinov?
He's a Kazakh gold medalist, I believe. I want to say welterweight division. I'm not sure though, but he's one of Eddie Hearn's newly signed hot prospects, and kind of a pet project, I suppose, to see how Eddie could promote a Central Asian guy, to the Western world. It's a guy definitely to look out for.
It's interesting, man. Fucking Eddie Hearn. When's the last time a British promoter started branching out into the international level? I mean, they usually stick to the UK,
You'd have to ask Stu.
Yeah, I want to ask him, but man, the guy fucking stayed up. I mean, he had to go eventually, but he was staying up with us until 4 a.m. UK time. So I don't know if he's gonna be able to make it. The guy, he must be pretty finished.
Oh, you guys watched the fights? My battery died, so I just fucked off. But you guys actually watched the fights live?
Oh yeah, we broke
cool.
the record, man. 7 hours 33 minutes.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. And I still got energy left tonight. I mean, for today, so we gotta keep going, man. Gotta keep going. The train ride never ends. All right, so people are talking about what's his name, Jacobs and that. What did you think about Jacobs versus Sulecki?
First thing I want to say is there's a lot of talk about Danny Jacobs looking poorly or looking poor, and I don't disagree with that, but I think the focus should be on the true winner of the fight, Sulecki, who should be getting a lot of credit for the things he was doing. I had the fight, for the record, 7-5 to him, 6-6, which would have given Danny Jacobs the win due to the late knockdown, is also acceptable in my eyes. I thought he was schooling him in the middle of the fight, and from the beginning through the middle, and then I thought Danny Jacobs took the championship rounds, with another round here and there. But he landed the cleaner punches. He pushed Danny Jacobs back more so than the other way around. He shut Danny Jacobs down. If you notice, in the first or second round, Danny Jacobs is already switching to southpaw, looking for answers, and Sulecki took that away from him. He just started landing the right hand. Whenever Danny would switch to southpaw, he just clocked him with that right hand, so that made Danny stop. He took away Danny's jab. Danny doesn't have much in the way of a left hook if you know what you're looking at, and if you're scoring more than like 30 or 40% of his left hooks, then I encourage you to revisit what a legal punch is, because Danny is a slapper, long story short. And the only punch that was really working for Danny, and only really in spots and definitely late, was the right hand. So in my eyes, in 6 of the 12 rounds, Sulecki shut him down, man, and schooled him at points even, I thought. I mean, he was embarrassing Danny Jacobs. I thought his height and reach was something that Danny Jacobs is not used to insofar as in the boxer package, right? And he got caught a bunch of times backing out of the pocket with his hands down. He couldn't deal with the jab. And the only success that Danny had is when he started being the bull and going in, stepping into mid-range into the pocket and even inside and trying to bully the guy, which really should just tell you that he got outboxed. I won't call it a robbery because it could have gone either way, especially due to the knockdown. But it was another gift for an Amaro bomb. Let's keep it real.
Well, I don't.
Which doesn't mean he's a bad fighter. I don't mean to imply that. I just use it the way Eurobomb was used when you had these European fighters like Sven Otke staying in Europe and getting these so-called questionable decisions. People call those people Eurobums. So I think it's only fair to call Danny Jacobs an Amaro bum.
Well, the term I used to hear a lot about those guys was European pastry. That's what they used to call them. Amaro bum, I think it came later on. But Mr. Coxey says, precise, do you think Jacobs was bad because he looked a lot smaller?
Well, his Golovkin performance was the best of his career, and a lot of that had to do with that 9 a.m. early weigh-in, which allowed Danny Jacobs to come into that and blowing off the IBF 10-pound rehydration clause or mandate. And, you know, he didn't have that luxury in this fight, so he probably wasn't as strong in this fight. He also took a tremendous beating from Triple G, and not so much physically, even though that happened as well, but mentally. You know, you had this guy who prepared like his life was depending on it, and you could say it was his career anyway. You know, he prepared as well as he could have. He cheated basically on the scale. Um, did everything he could to win that fight to the best of his ability, and then just got spanked. You know, so I think that took something out of him mentally and physically a little bit too, and he just hasn't looked the same since. And you know, he is getting up there in age, so maybe Danny's declining just a little bit. But you know, credit to Sulecki, because you know, he outboxed him. It is what it is. He outboxed him. Danny couldn't compete, you know, jab for jab, right hand for well, not until the end, right? So he just got you know, he got in there with the guy that was more skillful, and his strength bailed him out against a guy that was coming up in weight. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, man. I mean, Sulecki, it wasn't so much the size, although I do think it played a certain factor, but it was, you got to give Sulecki credit for his skills. The guy has very good, sharp punches. He gets them in, you know, he hits the target. And that's what I was also saying last night, because people look at somebody that doesn't know much about boxing. They'll look at Jacobs, they'll see him fighting with his hand down, you know, rolling with the right hands, looking slick, as I hate to say. And then you look at Sulecki, you know, standard boxing pose, hands up and all that, and you would think, wow, Jacobs has to be perhaps the superior fighter. But you don't have to do slick shit to be slick. You don't have to fight with your left hand down. Hands up, proper sense of timing and distance. He did show a very good head movement, and he was causing major trouble for Jacobs, who
He
couldn't
lumped
land.
him up. He was clean as a whistle at the end of the fight, except for the nosebleed, which happened in the last 3 rounds. But Danny was lumped the fuck up, wearing big shades in the PC. So,
Now, I'll tell you.
I know. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what I like about Jacobs. You mentioned that the slapping. Now that he took on a guy, because he had it pretty easy in his last couple of fights. You know, he took out Caleb Truax against Mora, who was all crippled up and all, you know. But credit to Jacobs, he took him out. And what's his name? Arias Quillen, he took him out in the round, so we didn't really get to see him how he looked. He took a guy who could take his shots and give him back. And you saw a little bit. We started to see a couple of Jacobs' limitations that. Because again, when he fought Golovkin, you know, Golovkin, one of the best in the world, so we kind of excuse Jacobs. We actually give him more credit because he was such an underdog in that fight. But now that he took on a guy that, you know, most people didn't really know a lot about, but who is skilled, we did see where Jacobs stands right now. He, like you said, he's very good, but he's got his limitations. And I think what you mentioned, the slapping, there were certain points where he should have set down more of his shots, but with that left hand, especially left hooks, he slaps with that left hook, man.
And he's very limited coming forward, you know, which goes again to show you that coming forward is actually the more difficult. If you really pay attention to boxing and you watch these guys, these so-called skillful guys, you'll notice that their biggest limitation is coming forward. They don't know how to do it as well. You know, like when you take Triple G's fight against Danny Jacobs, where Jacobs had a significant height and reach advantage, Triple G coming forward was able to outbox him, right? He was able to land his jab consistently while coming forward, being the smallish guy with shorter reach. So that's impressive. Danny Jacobs, once he got in the ring with somebody who was his height, maybe a little bit taller, similar comparable reach, a guy that knew how to use those advantages or attributes, coming forward for Danny, it wasn't looking so good, man. Unless he closed the distance and was able to get close to him, you know, start headbutting, low blowing, and doing all that slick shit, elbows. You know, he's limited coming forward, and why he had so much success, more success than we expected against Triple G, is because he was fighting the whole fight basically going back.
Yeah, that's more his natural style. You know, like he's a boxer puncher. But coming,
It's lack of skill, in my humble opinion. I don't call that style. I call that lack of. He's one dimensional basically.
well, I mean, he can come forward against inferior fighters, but when it came to Sulecki, by the way, when he was going after Sulecki, at some points he looked very, very wild, very open, and he was getting tagged.
Oh, that's how he got knocked down by Mora, right? Looking wild and crazy. He's not very good. He's limited coming forward. He can do it. Don't get me wrong. He can do it, but he's not world class coming forward.
Right. And by the way, somebody just subscribed to. Shout out to whoever just subscribed. I forgot to put the subscriber alert. That's why you can't see it. You can only hear it. But yeah, that's why he gets wild, man. Even against Arias, after he dropped Arias, or actually he didn't officially drop him, but he stunned him in the first round, and he tried to go after him, and he was looking like Deontay Wilder in there. Because like his finishing skills aren't that good, man.
Emotional guy, very emotional.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was trying to egg Sulecki on when they were exchanging at the end of, I think it was the 8th round or one of those rounds. But he started doing the Hulkamania pose, trying to sack, because he knew. Listen, I think he knew the fight was a lot closer than he would have liked, and that's why as soon as he saw, I think it was the 5th or 6th round where he started putting more pressure, because he knew boxing from the outside wasn't gonna be as successful just as a pure boxing match against Sulecki. And it's interesting that against Golovkin, I think he did go in there with the mentality of, look, I'm the underdog. If I make it 12 rounds, that's a victory for me. And he did finally exchange with Golovkin in the last 2-3 rounds, but he never jumped on Golovkin the way he did against Sulecki, because against Sulecki, he knew he wasn't supposed to be losing. You know what I mean? I think that was a mentality.
Yeah, exactly. When you look at the last 3 rounds, the championship rounds, who was fighting like the guy that was down on the cards? Danny Jacobs, even though he wasn't, because hey, let's keep it real. The fight was in Brooklyn, and where they tried to rob Triple G. Even those cards were ridiculous, and well, the cards we saw last night were ridiculous too. So even though he didn't have to do that, he had that urgency because he knows he was losing the fight. HBO knew he was losing the fight. I mean, I don't know if you caught any of the commentary, but they were saying Roy Jones at one point said something along the lines, Danny Jacobs is fighting at home. He's the champion. No way he's losing this fight. As soon as Max Kellerman suggested that, you could have given Sulecki 5 of the first 7 rounds, which I thought was a credible, legitimate argument.
That's interesting to hear, because I was watching the fight on mute, so I didn't get to hear the HBO commentary. By the way, what did you think of Harold Lederman's scorecard?
Come on, man. Disgusting. And Harold Lederman, like, if you're keen enough, you've been on this planet long enough, and you have a good read on people. Harold Lederman was lying through his fucking teeth when he was given the scorecard. One thing that was very notable that he said was, Danny Jacobs keeps hitting him with all these clean shots, but he can't put him down. I wonder why that is. Something along those lines. When in reality, the reason why he wasn't hurting him is because he wasn't landing these clean shots. And as soon as he did land a clean right hand, we saw what effect it had. So, and it was a very, I don't know, maybe a sheepish kind of a comment. Harold Lederman's, he's usually very assertive with his cards. You could tell that he was lying through his fucking teeth, basically. If you ever get a chance to watch that, maybe you'll notice that, maybe you won't.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a what's it called, a stream or the HBO version. I might have to find a way to download it, because I really want to hear the HBO comment. People in the chat room were telling us that Max Kellerman was being, I think Jim Lambley was being very biased or something like that.
Also, yeah.
But that's the thing about fucking Harold Lederman and the HBO commentary. People think it's about race. It's not about race. It's about who's the house fighter. You know, who the house fighter is. I'll give you an example. The double standards. And we have to go back 10 years. When Barrera was fighting Juarez, what's his name? Rocky Juarez, in the rematch, Barrera had struggled against Juarez in the first fight. So the second one, what did he do? He stood on his toes. He was boxing like Muhammad Ali, just jabbing, throwing combinations, clinching, just doing the bare minimum to get a decision win and keeping Juarez away. And Juarez couldn't get close to him. It was Barrera was slowing the fight down. And the HBO commentators were saying, well, look, Juarez can't get close to him, and if he can't find a way to cut off the distance or cut off the ring, that's his fault. All right. You fast forward a year, about a couple of months later, Corey Spinks, former welterweight champ, taking on Jermaine Taylor, middleweight champ, the house fighter, the HBO favorite. Corey Spinks is dancing around the ring, keeping Jermaine Taylor away. He's not landing much, Corey Spinks, but neither is Jermaine Taylor. Taylor is looking bad against a welterweight. Emmanuel Stewart is screaming at him, chastising him in the corner. And what did HBO say? Did they stay consistent and like they did in the Barrera Horus fight and criticized Jermaine Taylor for not being able to close the distance? No. They said it was Corey Spinks' fault that he was making it a boring fight. So that is just one example of how these guys.
There are tons of them, yeah.
Yeah, they change their opinions all the time to benefit the house.
One way they trick people, or at least unbiased people, because people that are biased, they don't need a lot of convincing. Is with this whole power shot jab comparison. Say you're watching a fight and it looks to you like the B side is outworking the other guy. What they'll do a lot of the times is, because they can't say it's so obvious that he's landing many more punches, they can't tell you that that's not the case. What they'll do is they'll say, oh well, he landed a lot of jabs but not a lot of power shots. As if that made a difference. It doesn't matter whether it's a jab or a power shot. Every shot has to be judged individually, right? There are plenty of jabs that are more powerful than these so-called power punches, because it all depends on how well they land, right?
Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, it's like I was talking about that one time about, do you count punches when one guy is holding the other? Meaning, if I'm holding your arm and you're hitting me, should your punches count, even though they're not exactly, they're very, very little taps on the inside? Should those count?
If they're little taps, no. But generally, what happens is when guys start clinching, they slap. They don't really land anything effective, and they go hit the opponent on the back, which is something that Danny Jacobs did the entire fucking night and wasn't warned for even once. Just hitting the kidneys, man. Bullshit, disgusting fucking bullshit, And to be fair, Sulecki was rabbit punching when Danny Jacobs grabbed him, but he got warned for it, and Danny Jacobs was allowed to, come in with his head and low blow and hit him on the back. But to your point, once the guys fall into the clinch, there's not really much in the way of effective work happening, because you don't have room to operate. You tend to slap, and the legal punching scoring area isn't available to you. So maybe as they're falling into the clinch, you count that first punch if it is good, but after that, none of that shit counts, really.
All right,
it tends not to.
Now let me ask you this. Now that Jacobs got the win, like we said, we got to give him props that he's a good fighter. He's got good defense. When he wants to tighten up his shots, he's got power, good hand speed combinations, shoe shining most of the time. But I mean, he can put together some flashy combinations when he wants to. And he's got size for a middleweight. Based on what he showed us against Sulecki, do you still favor him against Charlo?
No, that's become a 50-50 fight to me now.
Oh.
I'm gonna sit on the fence as a cop out for the time being. I gotta see more from Charlo, man. You know what I mean?
All right. Do you think Charlo beats Sulecki?
Probably, yeah. But not in Poland with a fair referee. No, he doesn't.
Because Charlo is a tighter puncher. He's got his.
It's a great fight. I like to see it, but I think Sulecki deserves a rematch in Poland, which obviously will never happen. If boxing were fair, they would order an immediate rematch, at least on neutral ground, given those cards and the referee and the fact that he made a case for winning the fight.
He absolutely did, man. I mean, he was landing the cleaner punches, but I don't think it was a robbery per se.
No.
Because like you said, Jacobs did take away. He came on strong, especially that last round. But even boxing style, though, I think he had that last round 10-10, but with the knockdown, he had it just 10-9 for Jacobs. So he thought that was actually, if you discount the knockdown, let's say the knockdown had never happened, he had Sulecki actually coming back very strongly from that.
I agree. I tend not to score rounds 10-9 when that happened, unless you really put a beating on the guy after he knocks you down. Like, perfect example would be Badu Jack after he got knocked down by Gale. Like he came back strong in that first or second round. That could have been 10-9.
Now here's the thing. The middleweight division is looking pretty interesting, man. Charlo, like I was saying, he's got tighter punching technique than Jacobs. But I so far, like you said, too, he hasn't proven himself at 160. We want to see him against somebody that's going to challenge him. My opinion about Sulecki Charlo is Julian Williams was catching Charlo flush. He was setting up those shots very nice, those straight rights. And what does Sulecki throw other than fucking straight punches, man? So I don't know if Charlo makes it past Sulecki, man. I really don't. I mean, I know he's got the power to bail himself out, Charlo, but
yeah, it's an interesting fight, man. You know, these Amero bums, the way they win is with the unfair advantages. They don't really win with skill, even though they do have skill, but they tend to be less skillful than all these foreign fighters. But they have, you know, all those unfair advantages. So it's an interesting fight. As long as you don't allow the bad decision to ruin it for you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I mean, first of all, I gotta disagree with the Amero bomb. That's a you know, bigoted term. That's an insulting term, and I'm not gonna have it on this show. But that's the thing. Okay, now I got a question. Okay, hypothetical, based on the way Jacobs looked against Sulecki, because I was thinking every month passes, a Jacobs Triple G rematch favors Jacobs more. But based on the way he looked last night, do you think he could? Do you think Triple G still beats him?
Yeah, and that's a useless fight to make. Jacobs has Sulecki problems. Forget about Triple G. Like that's not anything anybody should be clamoring for, because a guy from 154 came up and arguably beat him. So why do we want to see that? The winner of Charlo Jacobs could have a case, especially if it's Charlo.
That's, like you said, an interesting division, man. And let's not forget, man, Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah. Billy Joe Saunders. That guy's so hot and cold. You just never know.
Well, that's what I was trying to get at with, who was it? Was it Stu? Who's pretty high on Saunders. Yeah. But I don't know if it's just me, man, but against Monroe, yeah, I think he won against Monroe, but he wasn't, you know, it's not like he was tagging Monroe flush with punches. And then that fight against, what was the guy's name? Akave something.
Yeah, he got beaten in that fight.
He looked really bad. So he can look good against come forward punchers. And I'm not discrediting the Lemieux win. No. I'm not discrediting it at all. All credit to Joe Saunders. But I think that's the type of guy that he can look good against. You know, a guy that just puts his hands up and tries to walk him down. But if somebody puts a distance on him and he's able to box, Billy Joe Saunders can't come forward and make the fight. It happened against Chris Eubank in the late rounds where he got tired, against Monroe, against that guy that we mentioned, the Eastern European guy. And so if he takes on a guy like Sulecki or Jacobs or hell, maybe even Charlo, I don't know. What's he going to do?
Interesting fights, man.
That's right. Middleweight division looking very, very good.
Billy Joe Saunders is incredibly overrated, man. He's good. I'm not saying he's not. You know, I've been somewhat high on Billy Joe for many years, but you know, just the way people reacted to his performance against Lemieux versus what Triple G was actually able to do. What Triple G did was on a whole nother level to what Billy Joe Saunders was able to do, and it had nothing to do with punching power and everything to do with boxing skill.
Well, hold on a second here, Bucho. I'm putting the shit up that you're telling me to put up the subscriber alert, but it's, as you can see, Bucho, are you there?
Yeah.
All right. So what do you want me to do? You want me to copy paste the address and
in the source?
In the source,
open
right?
So source.
I opened the browser. Yeah.
And then copy paste and just paste the link I sent you.
All right. So you want to go ahead and test it?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry about that, folks. This whole fucking subscriber alert. Is this really necessary, by the way, Bucho?
It is necessary, man.
All right. Take it easy. There you go.
Right. Oh shit, there's two of them now. Because you have two.
You mean two? There's one open in another window, is what you're saying?
Yeah, you know what? Delete the one I just created. Go back. Wait, hold on. And then go back to another scene that you used before and just copy paste the subscription alert.
But I can't do that right now. We're fucking.
I'll just do it quickly. Nobody cares.
All right. First of all, I just deleted something I wasn't supposed to. So I mean, listen, fuck it for tonight, man. I mean, for today.
Oh man, just do it.
Bucho, man, you're fucking me up here, man. You're fucking my rhythm up. We're having a nice
Just go back
conversation
to another
talking
scene.
boxing.
I don't know
Copy
if
it
this
and
means
paste it.
anything, but I'm hearing an echo on myself and Bucho, not
Yeah,
you,
me too.
BDA.
Yeah, that.
Maybe
I'll
I'll
drop
drop
out.
off and come back on.
No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it's just it happens sometimes. Can you still hear it?
Yeah.
I think it's
No.
gonna go. I think it's gonna go away.
Yes.
Oh fuck. Hold on a second. Bucho, this is really killing the flow of the show. I gotta tell you, man. So you want me to stop? All right. So at least if you got talk with Precise while I do it, then, because I can't fucking stop the talking for about 15 fucking minutes while I'm doing this. All right. All right. They dropped out.
Did you fix it?
I'm trying to. So okay. So you keep up the conversation then. 'Cause we can't have any.
Okay.
How are those cookies, Bucho?
They were fine, man. I'm okay now.
You
Just
burnt
having
them,
some
though, huh?
vodka and apple juice.
What?
Nah, I'm good,
Fucking
man.
apple
It's fucking Sunday, man.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you guys
How did
talking
you
about
score?
again?
How did you score Jacobs?
Uh,
Sulecki.
I didn't score the fight or round by round, but I had Jacobs winning, and then like the knockdown, I think made the difference. Maybe
Yeah,
like
it
7-5.
makes
I
it.
gave it 7-5 to. Like I would say, give it 7-5 to Jacobs, but I mean I can see a draw in there.
You were drunk. It's okay.
But I was surprised at like because when you're drinking, you're watching a fight and you see like the unofficial scorecard, you go like, okay, then am I wrong here? Like, am I seeing it differently? Because Letterman was just giving every fucking single round to Jacobs. Like, I don't know.
No,
I think it was
the
closer
scores
than
were
that.
trash. That was trash. That was garbage. And
Yeah, even my girlfriend, she's saying now like that she saw it closer than that. She was giving some runs to Sulecki. I was like, oh, okay.
no, I mean, if you watch maybe from like the 4th to the 7th, apart from maybe a round in there, he was really schooling him, man. Like he couldn't deal with the lateral movement, the jab, the right hand. He was just putting it on Danny Jacobs, frustrating him, making him headbutt foul, low blow, clinch. It just trying to basically break his rhythm by means other than boxing.
But I don't think both like. Were there any clean punches in the fight? To be honest, like really clean punches.
Yeah, and all of them came
Well,
from
most of them, I get.
Jacobs
Yeah.
in 12th round. That was like probably obviously the best punch of the fight. But other than that, Sulecki was the one with all the clean punches. Not to say that Danny didn't land any clean punches, but not many really. His punches were more thudding, and you could tell that he was the stronger man in there. Obviously, the bigger guy, but Sulecki was the only one really snapping his opponent's head back, apart from a few instances from Jacobs here and there.
Yeah, I guess. Mm.
All
I
right.
mean, yeah, I have to watch it again, I guess.
Yeah, it was a better fight than I expected, and I gotta give a shout out to Del Boy. Maybe he's in the comment sections. I don't know, because
Yeah, he
he
was.
as soon as the fight was announced, he said that's a really good fight, and apart from the obvious bullshit, corruption, it was a good fight. It was a competitive fight. I think a rematch is in order. Obviously, it's not going to happen because Sulecki's a threat, and then he's looking to cash out. But if
That's a good
anybody
point.
deserves to fight Jacobs, it's Sulecki. Forget about
It
Triple
might
G
be,
rematch.
this fight might be like unfortunate for Sulecki because I think he's gonna be avoided now.
Could be, yeah, could be.
I
Now,
But
love to
he
see
said
him
after
against
the fight,
Charlo.
yeah, he said after the fight that if he expected Jacobs to be a lot stronger than that, and
Hmm.
he says that if they fight again, he's gonna knock him out. So I mean, it's talk. You
Yeah,
never know, man.
I
If he
don't think he
goes
has
to
the
work
power.
early,
Do,
no, he
I,
does. He
you think he
does.
hurt
He has the.
Jacobs at any point?
I think he stunned him,
No,
but I think he has the power to accumulate punishment and shut Jacobs down mentally and just keep piling it on, and get an accumulation stoppage. I think he does. Jacobs is a chinny guy. Let's not. And look, he's struggling to make 160. He looked so drawn on the scales, you know. And he's getting older. He's getting to that age where guys struggle to make weight, even more so because of age. You know, I don't know how many fights Danny has at 160, to be honest with you.
I don't know.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, Sulecki, let's be honest, he was fresher in a way because now he, like he said, like now I could eat whatever I want. Well, not whatever I want, but he could eat better, so he didn't have to cut weight.
Yeah, and when it comes to rematches, the more skillful guy tends to do better, and I think we could all agree that, you know, Sulecki was the more skillful guy. Jacobs was the stronger man.
Yeah, but I still think Jacobs can crack, and we saw that in the 12th round. I mean, so I don't think it's a given that.
No, but you know, I think he's gotten a lot of confidence from this win, and Danny was looking a little bit sorry for himself. So,
and by the way,
it'd be interesting. You know, this guy's coming into his prime too. Like, he's getting his man strength. What is he, 26, 27? He's still a kid, honestly.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Sulecki, you know, he had already proven prior to the fight that he belonged to get a shot at Jacobs. You know, he did knock out Centeno and beat Kolke. So he definitely deserved to get that Jacobs fight. And now that you could argue, you know, without the knockdown, he might have been able to pull off the fight. But he definitely deserves to be one of the top guys at 160. But should he go back to 154, or is that more of a... Or if he wants the money, should he stay at 160?
I'd say stay at 160. He fought at 160 initially. I don't know if you guys remember, but he stopped Proxa after Golovkin beat him down.
Ah, right, yeah. Yeah, and somebody in the chat room said he actually used to fight at 168.
Who?
Sulecki.
No way. Why?
That's what somebody told me in the chat room. Or in the beginning of the show. Who was it? Fuck, I can't go back. But yeah, supposedly
he has the frame, but why do that?
No, but I'm just saying is that this guy has fought in 3. If it's true, then that means he's fought in 3 weight divisions. And probably
you know, these tall, skinny guys, they, for some reason, they're better able to shed weight and put on weight, obviously. But how they make the weight, I don't know. But, you know, you could look at classic examples like Paul Williams or Tommy Hearns. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah, if they got the frame, they can put on the weight. By the way, we got Cameron on the line.
Fuck, mate, it's life, mate. You only live once. Make the most of life. Enjoy it. Because everybody's got their weird fetishes, man. And mine just happens to be eating fucking ass.
All right, Cameron, thank you for being on the show. Did you get a good night's sleep, man?
Well, yeah, I mean, I jumped off the call during the Dogboe fight. I was shattered. I was listening to the show and I fell asleep at about 3 a.m. So, listening to the show. So, I didn't wake up until about 9. So, yeah, it wasn't too bad, man. Believe it or not, I haven't seen any of the fights last night because I've been out today.
Oh.
Obviously, I watched the Dogboe fight, so obviously watching it on the show. And obviously, Dogboe ended up. I went off the call before the fight ended, but Dogboe stopped him. I got the prediction right with that one, man. Yeah, I'm happy for Dogboe, man. I didn't catch the HBO card. I know that, you know, Jacobs apparently had a tough fight with Sulecki. I know that Jarrell Miller won. Pretty surprised. I mean, obviously, I haven't watched the fight, but I'm pretty surprised that that Jacobs apparently was giving all he could handle with Sulecki. I mean, I thought, you know, Sulecki was decent, but I didn't think he'd give Jacobs trouble. Some people I know have said that they thought Sulecki won that fight, so a bit surprised by it.
Yeah, man, Recognized and Boxing Style were watching it with me, and they had the fight pretty fucking close, man. Pretty close. Not like Harold Letterman, though. He had about Jacobs winning a whole bunch of rounds, and in fact, 100% X had it 14-0 for Daniel Jacobs, so he added an extra knockdown in there just for good measure.
That's interesting, because he wanted Sulecki to beat Jacobs.
No, he changed his mind. Now he was going for the brother.
Alright, he's back to being a brother of the year.
And by the way, so just let me get this straight. Did you indeed predict? I mean, I know you had said that you thought Dogboe was going to stop Magdaleno, but didn't Stu say that you changed your mind halfway through the fight?
Nah, man. What happened was Magdaleno knocked him down. I was like, no, I'm changing my pick now. Magdaleno by knockout, and Stu started going on saying I changed my pick and all that. But I was just pissing about.
Yeah, I know he was fucking with you. And by the way, Nicola Ferrari's asking, BDA, you had Vic Martirosyan last night, and you didn't even ask his brother why he's staying active. But Cameron, didn't you address that with Vic over at your podcast?
Yeah, she asked him why we didn't ask Vic why he wasn't active.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's all on the. I did a video of him. We did a video with on my channel. All the answers to that is on there. Yeah, he basically said
Exactly.
that he's It was a long story. He put it out. It's all to do with promotional stuff and things like that. He couldn't get fights, and now he's doing his own business thing. That's a short story, but yeah.
You know what? You shouldn't have said what happened. You should have said, listen, if you want to know, find out the scoop, head on over to my channel and check it out.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah. I mean, go over and listen to the full story if you want, but that's basically a rundown.
Hey, by the way, are you gonna do a hangout tonight?
Yeah, man. I would probably do one like after, well, maybe in like 2-3 hours.
Yeah, because I know some people can't get enough boxing talk. You know, they got to get their fix in, and we're gonna probably end this in about 40 minutes. We don't want to.
I mean, what's the time Eastern time now?
Over here, it's 3:13 p.m.
Yeah, so it'll probably be about 5:13 p.m. that I'll start mine.
All right, so there you go, guys. Check it out. We're gonna put the link of Cameron's channel in the description, so you can check that out. Are you gonna try to have Lopez again on?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna do a free-for-all tonight, man. If anybody wants to join in, like literally anybody, they can just jump in and get their thoughts out. Anyone who's in the chat here, if they want to talk, they want to come on a call, anything, man. Anything.
May I suggest you talk about the middleweight division, like hypotheticals? You know, who beats who in it? Because it's a pretty loaded division, man.
Yeah, obviously, I didn't watch the fights last night. We'll probably just talk all sorts of different boxing stuff, rather than cover last night's fights.
Did we talk about baby Fat Miller?
No, not yet.
Were you impressed? Or what do you guys think about that fight?
How about Jarrell Miller, man? I put it on Twitter earlier on. I got hounded for it. I basically said, you know, the heavyweight division. You know, the heavyweight division's bad when you got someone like Jarrell Miller, who's, you know, being regarded as a top contender for a world heavyweight title shot. It kind of shows how bad, you know, this era of heavyweight division is, in my opinion. You know, because Jarrell Miller, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he would be a top 20 fighter. That's my opinion. So for him to be, you know, up there and beating some solid guys and being, you know, potential Joshua opponent, this is what I can't get into the heavyweight division, man. I mean, you look at the heavyweight division right now. You got David Haye, Tony Bellew next weekend. I mean, 2 former cruiserweights fighting in division. Bogus fight, in my opinion. You got Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder talking. That fight's not happening this year. And, you know, that's the biggest story. You know, it's not even a fight that's happening. It's just a load of bullshit PR stunts going on. So, for me, the heavyweight division's so hard to get into. And Jarrell Miller last night, I mean, for me, it's just a big example of why I can't get into the heavyweight division, really.
Yeah, that's
some fat, lazy boxers. Let's be honest, man. Sloppy boxing. I mean, nothing impressive.
Is he an Ameribum?
I don't like that term.
You're getting too sensitive in your old age.
He looked like one. I mean, both fighters didn't look impressive at all. Did they? I mean, if you put these boxers in another weight division, they wouldn't be top 10. I mean, let's be honest.
Boxing Battenberg says Miller is a terrible big lump of lard, C grade at best. Whoa, C grade. Precise, what did you think of Miller?
I only caught a few rounds, so I can't speak as far as Jarrell Miller, the 12-round fighter that he is. But you know, he's got skill. The guy has skill. He reminds me in some of the things he does of don't jump out the window. James Toney a little bit.
I knew it.
On the inside. The way he uses his shoulders and elbows to block, parry, and counter, and he's entertaining. You know what I mean? The weight wasn't as big of a problem as I thought, just hearing that he was so overweight. But that being said, he can be so much better if he comes in around 270, you know, 260. Like, there's no way in hell. What is he, 6'4", 6'5"? There's no way in hell men should be weighing that much at that height and be a boxer. That's detrimental.
Yeah, man, that's what I agree with that, man. If he comes in at 270, I might. But the problem is the weight thing. I mean, if he comes in at 270, something like that. I mean, he said he was trained at 280 or something like that. I mean, I don't believe that. Maybe if he does the weight properly, rather than just, you know, quickly doing it, shedding the weight right. I think he'd be a better fighter as well, man. Not saying he's a bad fighter. I mean, in his current heavyweight division, he's not a bad fighter at all. You know, right. I mean, he's earned more of a title shot than most heavyweight contenders out there. Let's be honest. I mean, wins over Washington, Wack, and Duhaupas is better than pretty much any heavyweight out there hasn't got a title apart from Povetkin. So why not?
The thing that's curious about the guy is that he is not only is he just big and it's not natural because I believe he failed a PED test back in when he was kickboxing. But he's huge for his height. He's very heavy. Then on top of that, he's overrated, and yet somehow he still manages to throw 700 punches, which to me screams, you know, the way you beat Jarrell Miller is with 3-month drug testing.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He's not. I mean, he's not with VADA, is he? Right? He's not signed with VADA.
No, not at all.
No, there you go.
Does blood testing work with a guy that fat, or does a cholesterol just hide anything he might have in his bloodstream?
It's actually better because as he's losing fat, you know, things that have been stored in the fat, toxins such as PEDs, could be released at any point in time. So, you know, it's kind of a you know, it could fuck him over if he starts doing PED testing. But, you know, when he steps up to fight someone like Wilder or Joshua, he's not going to be the same fighter. And that, just like Luis Ortiz wasn't the same fighter. You know, his stamina's not going to be there. He won't be as sharp. He might come in even heavier. You'll see.
Imagine that, man. Vada. 310 pounds for Joshua. It's hilarious.
I agree with...
I don't think he has the power to do much with Joshua, but hey, it'd be an interesting fight.
Well, if he fights Wilder, you know they're gonna test the shit out of him, though.
Of course.
He fights Joshua, man. He beats Joshua. Imagine, you know, Joshua's built like a statue, man. When he gets beat by someone like Jarrell Miller, who's 300 pounds, man, it's terrible.
I imagine the guy takes one hell of a punch. I don't know, but I imagine he would, which could be his thing. You know, he could outlast some of these big guys, but again, or big guys in comparison to him, they're fucking 50 pounds smaller. But again, you drug test them stringently, and we're not going to get the same fighter, and it's a shame because and I'm assuming a lot here, but it's hard to give that guy the benefit of the doubt because of the things I already outlined. And you know, we've seen this where guys start doing VADA and they just don't look the same anymore. You know.
What did things, or you don't want to get into what you've read online regarding Miller?
What's that?
You said you've read some things online about Miller.
No, I don't think I said that, did I?
Okay, I misheard it. No,
I said some. No, I think I said some of the things I already said.
Oh, okay,
I don't want to get into anymore.
Well, I will say this. First of all, you compared him to James Toney. Guess who else compared him to James Toney a long time ago and last night? Me. I compared him to compared him to James Toney, and people. Who said it in the chat room? Somebody's, I think it was Casey Robinson making fun of us for comparing him to James Toney, but it's the truth. He fights with that left hand down, rolls with the shots, does a lot of, you know, changing angles on the inside. He fights on the inside. This guy doesn't fucking stay on the outside at all. I like the fact, like you said, the activity rate. You know, it's he's really just shooting little taps, and he should, because he's 300 pounds. Those taps are gonna hurt, but I don't know about you guys, but the fact that he couldn't take out Duhaupas while Wilder and Povetkin did, I don't know what that says about Baby Miller, man.
No punching power, man, or not very good punching power. But again, if he loses the weight, he's going to be a little bit sharper. His technique's going to be better because there's going to be less blubber in the way of his shots, you know, so he might be able to shorten up his game. He might be able to throw more punches, and, you know, he has a high stoppage ratio because he just pours it on. And if he could, maybe if in some instances in that fight, if you were able to really pour it on, he would have forced the stoppage.
Well, that's my question here, and I asked this last night as well, but if all he has really is the size and the work rate, is that enough to beat Wilder and Joshua?
Yeah.
Really? Whoa. All right.
Well, I mean, he has a chance. I'm not picking him, but I think he has a chance, and it could be an interesting fight. Yeah, Joshua has notoriously poor stamina. Deontay Wilder is notorious for not throwing many punches, so he's going to be a tough out for either one of these guys, provided he has a half decent chin. And you kind of have to expect a guy that big with that sort of defense that he has to be able to go some rounds with these, you know, overrated top level heavyweights.
I want to get back to what you said about that, about the defense. But first we gotta, oh fuck, he just left. I was going to introduce Recognize. Should I introduce him even if he's not here in case he comes back?
He'll be back, I'm sure.
There he is.
Don't get fooled when they tell you that the crime rate is down in New York. Every time I watch the local news, they're always talking about, well, there was a stabbing here, there was a stabbing there was a shooting there, but the crime is down.
Recognize, are you there?
I am here. What's going on?
Not much, man. Thank you for being on, first of all. We're just talking, we're getting to Gerald Big Baby Miller, who we saw fight last night. First of all, I want to thank you as well, and everybody who was here on the podcast, whether you were here until the end or in the beginning or in the middle. You guys make this show very entertaining. Wouldn't be the same with just me and Bucho blabbering on. So thank you for that. Recognize, we're talking about Big Baby Miller, and precise, I want to get back to what you said. The defense from Miller. I think we can agree he has a pretty good defense, but in terms of in terms of speed, you alluded to Luis Ortiz being too slow against Wilder. Is Baby Miller in danger as he's coming in against Wilder? Because he's a slow guy.
Absolutely. Everybody is. Wilder could take anybody out, you know, at least hurt him enough to be able to take him out with one shot. So, you know, is he in danger? Everybody is. What kind of danger threat does he pose to Deontay Wilder? That's the question we should be asking. We know Deontay Wilder could potentially knock anybody out. You know what I mean?
All right, so let me ask you guys this then: who do you give him a better shot against Joshua or against Wilder?
Joshua, yeah.
Styles
Stamina,
man. Stamina too. Yeah.
Although Josh is better on the inside, you know, it's going to be a lot harder to get on the inside with Deontay if Deontay doesn't want you to.
Well, that's the thing.
That's a good point. But then again, with Deontay Wilder, his sense of how do you say, ring awareness, he doesn't know where he is, and sometimes he himself ends up in the ropes or in the corner, and that's when Joshua can fucking get in there and fucking do some damage.
So you don't think Miller has good ring runnership in terms of being aware? Like ring
I was talking about Joshua against Wilder. No, I was talking about Wilder. Okay. He has no ring awareness.
Right.
Bucho's so drunk, man.
That's so...
Yeah, it's true. No, the guy backs up, ends up on the ropes in the corner and shit. It's like, you saw that against Steve Byrne in the first fight.
Yeah.
I'm really drunk. Really, I am. I'm out of my head.
All right, Bucho, that's enough out of you.
I am drinking now, so I'm not drunk. Yeah.
I'm just fucking. I'm just kind of watching some of the Jarrell Miller videos from the post fight last night. Him talking to Eddie Hearn about fighting Joshua, man. You know what, man? Jarrell Miller might actually make the build up exciting, but the fights would be terrible, man. Yeah,
the build up would be better than the fight, I think. That's a good fucking point. And by the way, Bucho, we had a little bit of a surprise for you guys because Bucho actually went to. He had a call with Jarrell Big Baby Miller. And he actually asked him about his training regimen and all that. So we have a bit of an... I'll give you a snippet of the video, the audio interview, the phone interview we had with Big Baby Miller. So that's just a little snippet right there.
That's racist.
It's a pig. What does a pig have to... If anything, it's being fat-phobic, or I don't know what the fuck they call it.
Implying that it's an animal, it's a pig. I'll make a connection. I'll make it the racist.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you. I'm sorry. It's okay.
All right. So we are sorry.
Yeah, I didn't realise. Precise, you live in Ecuador, right?
That's right.
I didn't know that, man. I thought you were just in the States. Like, you know, the US.
I used to, yeah. I used to.
You're Ecuadorian. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Right now I am.
What's the
I like that, yeah.
What's the boxing like over there, man? What's the boxing like over there, man?
Oh, non-existent, the scene. There's a little bit of action on the coast, but man, it's a huge earthquake hit not that long ago, so even if there was any real hope, you know, the infrastructure just got fucking destroyed over there. It's just too poor. There's not enough interest. People are small. So... it's whack. You know, the biggest sport here is football, and they fucking suck at it anyway. So that's that.
Well, Bucho, is Ecuador going to the World Cup?
Negative.
Oh, negative. All right.
No.
That's a shame.
I don't really watch football, man. Boxing's my sport. Nothing else.
They you know, this will explain everything to you. They suck at everything so much they invented their own sport, and it's basically a cross between soccer, as we say in the States, and volleyball, and they call it equavolley, and they're the best in the world at it.
Hey,
sounds like American football.
Yeah.
That's, man, listen, if you suck at some sports, that's the best thing, man. Invent your own sport and become the best at it. Yeah, you crush it.
I have my own fucking religion, man. So
yeah,
Me too.
That's. And who's your god? Don't tell me it's yourself. And then that's Luciferianism, I think.
it's Al Heyman.
Al Heyman.
Yeah, Al Heyman's my god, man. You know that?
I do sacrifices when it's a full moon.
Oh, so you're playing like the Mayan ball game, where you have to shoot a ball through the hoop. Remember that game?
Yeah.
And the
loser gets their head chopped off.
Yeah, they should bring that back, man. That would good. That would do great ratings on HBO.
That would sell, yeah, definitely.
But by the way, did any of you see fucking what's his name? I don't want to get into it. Political, the whole fucking White House Correspondents' Dinner. Even the left, they were making fun of Trump there, and even the people on the left wing didn't find the jokes funny. But anyway, we'll save that for another episode. So yeah, Cameron says he's watching the comments of Miller versus Eddie Hearn. I don't know, man. I mean, I think Miller has to. He doesn't have the hand speed and the one-punch knockout power, I don't think, to beat Wilder. But then again, you guys have said that Wilder and Joshua, they're not. You don't hold them that high in high regard. So maybe Miller has a good chance.
Yeah, no, I don't. But I don't think Miller's not the guy to beat him. If you know what I mean. I think if anyone's going to beat either of them, it's going to be Povetkin.
Yeah, that's what pisses me off. Whenever I hear an interview with one of the top 3 guys in a heavyweight division, and they mention that, right? You're one of the top 3 guys. It's Fury, Wilder, and Joshua, and I'm like, wait a minute. Povetkin is top 3, especially now that Fury's been out. You know what I mean? Povetkin has to be up there. He for damn sure has a better resume than Deontay. It's debatable when it comes to Joshua, but he has a better resume than everybody else.
But he a cheater, man.
Yeah, I mean his resume is his second best, man. I mean, obviously you got to put Joshua as a unified champion, but outside of Joshua, I mean, Povetkin, yeah, he's got the best resume.
Yeah, so you know that's the guy. Given that he's going to be out the game pretty soon, that's the guy that we should be talking about. He should be the one getting title shots, and after that, everybody else. He definitely paid his dues. I mean, look, Miller just fought Duhaupas, and that's the fight that's supposed to. And he fought Vach, right? And those are the fights that got him in title contention. But Povetkin already beat those guys and other guys on top of that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Was Povetkin against Price a mandatory fight, eliminator fight, or something?
It was part of the deal. Part of the deal with Hearn.
In the WBA, the thing is, if Joshua fights Povetkin, that's arguably 1 and 2. They're not 1 and 2 guys in the division fighting. Based on resume.
So they're not really afraid of Povetkin. I mean, the fact that they're showing him in the UK, knowing fully well that he could have. Go ahead.
Povetkin, in my opinion, if Joshua fights Povetkin and beats Povetkin, that'll be his best win.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure.
You know, the thing about Wilder, right? And listen, I don't want people to think that I'm just dogging on Wilder. Maybe I am. Fuck it, I don't care. But Wilder's resume is shitty, man. It's a shit resume, man. I'm sorry. It's just, I know he's number 2 and fine, and maybe he's number 1, but that's a shitty resume, man. And you know, I'll leave it at that. You know.
Listen, at some point, his biggest win was Steve Hearn. At some point, I mean, come on.
Tell me, did anyone watch the Brian Jennings fight last night? Because some people said to me they thought he lost that fight.
No,
Brian Jennings has no skill to me, man. He's just not a boxer to me.
And there you go, precise. And that's Lewis. That's what Luis Ortiz was being hyped off, that win. Really?
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's why Luis Ortiz has beat Jennings, who's been struggling, to be honest.
I hope White Ortiz happens. It's not likely, but I hope it happens because that'll tell us a lot about Deontay Wilder's best win. And I would, even though I'm not high on White, I'm not counting him out in that fight. I think he might win.
Yeah.
I'll give him a shot as well.
He's fresher, faster, younger.
Take a punch as well.
Yeah.
Before we continue, guys, we gotta introduce Stu on the line.
I wasn't bad,
I
though.
told you what's going to happen to Price. I told you he's going to be sleeping. I told you the ambulance is going to come. The oxygen mask is going to come out. I told you he's going to miss the main event. I told you all them things were going to happen.
Evening, boys.
Hello, there's Stu. Hey, listen, I gotta ask you, Stu. First of all, thanks for being on the show. At what time did you finally get to sleep last night? Or morning?
Well, I switched off about 4:15, and I watched the rest of the fight in bed. So 4:45 in the morning, I should think. To bed. And then I had to go and pick my sons up, my twins, and go and sit with them today. And they're babies; they're like 7 months old. So can you imagine? My eyes were like piss holes in the snow.
Piss holes in the snow. All right, quite a way. What'd you think of? Just real quick, because we're talking heavyweights now, but Jacobs versus Sulecki. How did you score that one?
I had Jacobs winning the fight. I think the knockdown made it clear, but I thought the scorecards from the Americans was atrocious. I thought, Jacob 7 rounds. I mean, where the fuck did they get? I mean, come on, man. You know,
commentators are.
I understand Jacobs won the fight, but I thought Sulecki outworked Jacobs really, and I think it's because Sulecki had he had rounds where he didn't do much, and I think that cost him. But in general, I thought Sulecki more than held his own. I thought it was a very good fight. I did.
Yeah, he did. I thought Sulecki could have won 7 rounds. I scored it. I watched the fight. I was listening to you guys while the fight was happening, and I watched it I got home and I was able to watch it from the 7th to the 12th round. So 6 rounds, I had that 3 apiece. The first 6 rounds, you could say it was 3-3 or 4-2 Sulecki, in my opinion. It was a good fight, but yeah, I don't have a problem with him winning. I just didn't like the over exaggeration, like they always do.
I thought Jacob struggled with the European style. I think he really struggled with it. I mean, it was just he seemed to be getting popped with jabs and right hands all night, and that might be a bit worry for him when he fights a big puncher. But that Sulecki guy, I mean, I've not seen him before, but I was quite impressed with him. I just think he lacks punching power. I think if he had any sort of, if he had any sort of pop in him. What's that noise, man? If he had any sort of pop in him, then
just leave it open.
He could have caused Jacobs a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you can start.
Mike, recognize. Is he making chocolate milk again?
Oh, I'm sorry. Shit, I should have muted myself.
Oh, silence, ain't it bliss?
Go ahead, Stu.
Silence is bliss. Yeah, because I was struggling to fucking talk when I've got someone eating Monster Munch in my ear off. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, Sulecki just lacked the punching power to trouble Jacobs. I don't think his punches were causing that much damage, but Jacobs looked a bit flustered in there. He looked a bit. Well, he was like short for ideas. I think he was getting outboxed in certain parts of that fight, but I did have him winning.
Yeah, Sulecki had problems with. I mean, that's well, they both did, but Sulecki definitely had some problems with Jacobs had problems with Sulecki's jab. That jab was giving him some issues.
Yeah, it was. It was, man. I tell you, Sulecki's got a decent chin as well because he was taking some big shots from Jacobs. I'm telling you, now he was.
Yeah, but Jacobs tends to slap a bit, so I mean, I guess you can be picky about it and don't really give a lot of credit to those punches or slaps, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I think Jacobs proved again that he can fight. He's very versatile the way he can fight. He can fight on the back foot and play it quite safe and boring, and he can also be quite explosive and exciting coming forward. Very good all-round fighter, Danny Jacobs.
Yeah, and I think Jacobs. I mean, some people are can be very critical of him in this fight, but I think that if Jacobs fights a bigger opponent, a tougher opponent, we're gonna see a different Jacobs. He's gonna step up his level. And that's just an assumption, an opinion. Like that.
He was searching for that one punch all night, weren't he?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what happens with people who have power. Sometimes they get overconfident and they believe so much in their power that they go like, well, I can knock out this guy in any round, and then the knockout never comes, and you end up, in that close fight.
That's a good point,
yeah,
man.
I mean, yeah, agree.
And we were talking about that earlier with Precise about how Jacobs, he can come forward against certain type of fighters, but it's not really, he was looking very wild in there against Sulecki. Like there were times where he was jumping in and he was off balance and very open to counters. So I don't know how good but I do agree that he can do a little bit of both, and he's a good fighter, man. He has different things he can do there, but he's mostly a counterpuncher, I think.
I'll tell you what though, he was throwing shots in the pocket that were missing Sulecki by millimeters, and if they'd have landed, they'd have took his fucking head off.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dangerous guy, Jacobs. I think he stops Charlo. I really do.
Yeah, a lot of people were making. I've seen quite a few videos and comments from that performance, and like, oh, Charles is going to knock him out. He's going to knock him out. I'm like, dude, I think you're underestimating Sulecki. Sulecki is, like you said, Stu, he was dodging those punches that if they would have landed, they would have took him out. Shows you that he has good head movement.
Can Charlo beat Sulecki?
And also, Sulecki is smart. When he got dropped, what I love when boxers do this. When they get dropped, the worst thing to do is to go backwards. He came forward. If you look at him, go watch that round where he gets dropped, which is the last round. Gets back up, he's coming forward.
Hey, bro, I think if you take,
in more danger.
Yeah, I think if you take that knockdown away, he probably could have won that round. That's how much he come back. I agree with you.
That's right. That's right. The best thing to do, from my experience of watching boxing and doing it myself, the worst thing you could ever do is go backwards after you're getting dropped, because the guy could catch you on the ending of his punches and make it worse for you. And while you're going backwards, he's coming forward. He made it a fight in that round. So he's a good fighter.
Yeah, he did, mate.
By the way, I had to leave for a couple of minutes, but apologies on the line. Apology, are you there?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, good to have you on, man. I forget, what time did you dropped off because you had to? Why did you drop off last night again?
I was just really tired. Like I fell asleep, so I was
really tired.
Don't worry, bro. That's what happened to me, man. I dropped off because I was fucking shattered in the end.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I think Stu outlasted you guys, and he's older than you, so you gotta step it up, guys. Gotta step up that endurance, that late night endurance.
Yeah, all about 2 me late nights that lost.
Me and Boxing Style stood to the end, man. We was there. For the record.
That's right.
I think it's all them late nights. Raving I used to do back in the day, mate. Fucking used to weekend benders, mate. Come back looking like Tom Hanks from Philadelphia because I've not slept for a fucking week. I think that's why I can handle the late nights. But I must admit, it was starting to drain on me. When you're talking boxing on a podcast, it can be quite drain you mentally, actually.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, man. I mean, I was shattered last night, man. I've had too many late nights, man. For like the last month or so, man. It's just been fucking. I can't remember the last time I went to sleep before midnight. So.
Now, they say it's very important to get your 7 hours of sleep. Is it important when you go to sleep, or just as long as you get 7 hours? That's what matters.
I think it's when, because I get 7 hours, but you still wake up tired. You go to bed after 12. It's bad.
I mean, I can go to sleep, man, about 3 o'clock and wake up at like, 8 o'clock and be all right. But it kind of bounces up to you eventually, man.
Especially when, like I said, with me today, I'm usually all right. If I could just lie in and chill on my sofa, I'd be all right. But I had to get up and I had to look after babies for 4 hours, and this just fucking took it out of me today, I can assure you. But I enjoy actually sitting up watching the boxing and talking on the hangout with you guys. I enjoy doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, man. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. Now, here's the thing. Going back to, because we were talking about Povetkin before, I'm starting to be, I hate boxing math. I don't put too much credence on it. But just take a look at Povetkin's resume. First of all, has anybody seen the Marco Hawk fight? Because I had never seen it.
I've seen it, yeah.
It says majority decision. What the hell happened there?
Huck won that.
I thought he lost. I had him
Oh.
losing myself.
That was a close fight. You could say Marco Huck won that.
He whooped his ass in the last few rounds. I mean, he put a beating on Povetkin, but it was the speed, and Huck's a strong dude, right? And he didn't have to make weight. Huck, that was Huck's best performance, man.
That's true. You know what? He didn't have to make. You're right about that. He didn't have to cut down to like 200 pounds, and you see those last couple of rounds, he's giving it to Povetkin.
Cruiserweights are heavyweights, man. I keep saying this. Like cruiserweights are heavyweights.
Yeah, they weigh 200 pounds or plus pounds, 200 plus pounds on the day of the fight. So they're heavyweights, man. They're fucking heavyweights.
Taking gas.
Was that? What? Okay.
Look at Usyk and Garcia.
So if you go see that fight, if you ever get the chance to watch that fight, to what Precise was saying, dude, he made a lot of trouble for Povetkin in those later rounds.
I think Huck actually would be a better heavyweight than he is a cruiserweight. I think his speed and his toughness would cause a lot of problems to some of these slobs that are floating around in the heavyweight division who've got no stamina. So, and just talking about the weight difference between Precise is spot on. I told my friend this. My friend's a professional boxer. He's a super middleweight, and he went up to light heavyweight. And a fight got cancelled, and he got offered a fight fighting a cruiserweight. Now my friend was like 6-0, 4 knockouts, yeah, and he's just moved up to light heavyweight, established himself there. He's got offered a fight at cruiserweight, took the cruiserweight fight. I said, don't take it. He's like, why? I said, because cruiserweights are not cruiserweights; they're fucking shrunken down heavyweights. The guy's going to be huge on the night. And look, my mate took the fight, got knocked out in a round.
Oh, damn! So he should have listened to you.
That's the thing about the pro level, that making weight. Some people be like, why are they dropping so much weight? And I'd rather fight, at the weight that I'm at right now. I'm like, yeah, you don't realize that guy's gonna blow up in weight. That the night of the
this
fight,
is what, yeah. This is it. They don't. Yeah, this is what I said to my friend, bro. I said he's not going to be he's not going to be 195 pounds on the night. He's going to be 230 pounds.
You better have blazing speed. You better have blazing speed to counter that.
Yeah,
with some tremendous power on top of that. But
yeah, my friend, this guy just moved up from super middleweights. So you're talking a guy that's been hovering around super middleweight, moves, and then goes and fights basically a heavyweight and gets knocked out cold in a round. That's what happens when you don't take the right fights at the right times, man. At the right weights.
You guys remember Camaro Jones?
Who?
Oh man, he's fucking ranked 15 at WBA, man.
Yeah, he was huge when he fought Lebedev. That fight was.
Oh, what, Guillermo Jones, the drug cheat?
Yeah,
I remember.
You guys heard of the boxer? I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name is Lou DeVal, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Lou DeVal fought. He ain't beat Roy Jones. He fought Roy Jones. He fought like Virgil Hill, guys like that. So I got the chance to spar with him one day, right?
Oh.
And I was maybe 22, 23. And he was 250 pounds after the fight.
Jeez.
When he's not fighting, excuse me. That's what I meant to say.
Right. And how did he drop you like he dropped Roy Jones, or?
Such an idiot. I just hit the mute button while I was talking to you guys. I think that fight anyway. He was 210 pounds maybe back then. I was about 190, and I was like, "What's the big deal?" They were like, "So he said to me, he said, you want to find out?" And I was like, "What do you mean? You want to spar?" He's like, "Yeah, come in." We sparred. Dude, he went to the body on me. Boom, boom, boom. After the first round, the second round came. I was done. The only thing that saved me was that he wanted to get some rounds in, so he stopped going to the body. That was the one thing I've noticed right away, was guys who got a lot of weight on you, when they hit you to the body, right? When they hit you to the body, especially at that kind of weight limit, right? I think the heavyweights might be a little bit different. As you go up, doesn't make that much of a difference, right? But when you're in that below 200, like I was back then, fighting a guy 210 pounds, he's going to the body on you, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I can't imagine getting hit by a 200+ pound guy. I mean, he's got 30 pounds on you too. But it's interesting because Jose Torres, former light heavyweight champion, he used to train with Cus D'Amato, or Cus D'Amato used to train him, and he wanted to go up to heavyweight. And apparently in sparring, he was doing very well. But then in one of his heavyweight fights, he dropped the guy. And then after the heavyweight got up, Torres didn't look so hot afterwards. And he had a bunch of reasons why he said he didn't look good. But D'Amato, after that, he said, no, you can't fight a heavyweight. You're going to get murdered. And Torres always maintained that he could have fought a heavyweight. But, I mean, it depends. Like you guys are saying, like if you have the speed, if you can fight a light heavyweight cruiserweight and you have speed and power, you can cause a lot of trouble for the heavyweights. But is it enough to get over monsters like Joshua?
No, that's the problem, bro. It's not. Well, I mean, Marco Huck would do well in the heavyweight division. He'd hold his own against people like Povetkin's size, say, you know, these Takam and the people like that, the smaller guys. But when he's in there with big guys like 6'6", you know, and like 240, 250 pounds, he's going to be fucking struggling, isn't he? That's the problem.
It's also their size. It's like really intimidating because I've sparred like heavyweights before. It's just like the size, man. It just I don't know what happened. It just gets to you. You just kind of intimidated and just back up.
Yeah.
Like I said, depends who the big guy is. Though, if it's David Price, then you've got every chance in the world, isn't it? You know, the big guy's still, the big guy's still got to be decent. Isn't he? Let's be real.
That's a good point.
When you're going against somebody tough, game, you know, and could throw some punches. And I remember like asking him, like that guy Lou DeVal, I said, so why don't you just like, because he says he feels stronger at this. He was explaining to me, I was like, man, you punch really hard. He was like, when I fight at this natural weight of mine, I feel stronger. I said, so why do you cut down to like that cruiserweight and light heavyweight limit, which cruiserweight back then was 190? He's like, dude, because the guys I'll be fighting at heavyweight, if I was to fight, or even at cruiserweight sometimes, they're much bigger than me come fight night. They're just much bigger guys than me. Like, all right, makes sense.
Now,
like they gain
same day weigh-ins.
Right, yeah, that's the thing. Now, here's the thing I wanted to get to with Povetkin, because again, I don't believe in boxing math, but I mean, you look at his record, man. Let's look at this. Look, Carlos Takam knocked him out. Joshua couldn't do it. I mean, yeah, you know, when the premature stoppage and all that, and Parker couldn't do it. Stopped Whack, something Klitschko couldn't do, and he also stopped Duhaupas, something, you know, Baby Milk could do. Now, to their credit, to his credit, Wilder did stop Duhaupas, but I mean, you're starting to get the picture here that maybe you guys are right. Maybe Povetkin isn't getting the credit he deserves. I mean, why should we? I mean, if we're gonna give Wilder credit and Joshua credit for beating these guys, then what about Povetkin, who stopped them and done better than most of them?
Yeah, but Povetkin's a joke cheat.
Yeah, I think Butcher already beat you to that joke with that one, man.
To me, he gets credit, you know. I mean, you can't, the boxing media, you know, I really don't, I really pay them no mind these days at all. We just listen to their whatever shit they're trying to push. But to me, he has a lot of credit. He has a way better resume than Deontay Wilder. He has a better resume to me than Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury, I'll say he's got a better, you know, resume than Tyson Fury. To me, he's got the best one.
So there you go.
I mean, yes, those fights happened a couple of years ago, right? A few years ago. But a lot of these guys that are getting credit for beating some of his opponents, some of Povetkin's leftover opponents, and in a lot of cases, Povetkin did it better. Takam, you was just mentioning, he did a better job with Takam than in terms of finishing the fight. Like he legitimately stopped Takam. Let's say Duhaupas. Duhaupas, I believe he went 9 or 10 rounds with Wilder and gave him some problems where Povetkin knocked him out clean. And there was some circumstances to that fight. The fight was kind of taken last minute, but he was aware that he was going to take that fight might happen. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you want to throw that in there. Me, I just look at it as you know, the styles was just all bad for Duhaupas. But yeah, so he's got some names on his resume where some of these guys are getting credit for beating, and Povetkin actually did it better than they did.
Wawrzyk was a better win than Areola or Eric Molina. I don't know if you guys ever seen the guy fight, but that guy has boxing skill, man. Like he might not be the toughest, most durable guy, but Wawrzyk can fight, man. So
that's the guy that got
Deontay Wilder. Yeah, that's the guy that Deontay Wilder drug ducked also.
Right, gotcha.
Another guy that you know, like got tested afterward, did a little investigation because they just kind of let him. They just forgot about him basically after the so-called positive drug test. But he did an investigation on his own, and he's like, "Look, I'm clean. What are you talking about? I have no clue what you're talking about." It was another one of those cases. Same happened to Tarver. I don't know if you guys remember. There was a time where Antonio Tarver was calling out Deontay Wilder quite a few years ago, and then all of a sudden he tests positive, so he's out the picture. He gets his lawyers involved. He gets tested. You know, he vehemently denies using anything, but no one wanted to listen to him. You know, but I thought Al Heyman eliminated him out of the picture because I thought he was a threat to Deontay Wilder at that point in time. If Szpilka was, you don't think Antonio Tarver would have been?
I don't know, man. 6'2" Tarver, like old ass.
But Szpilka is what, 6'3", 6'2", 6'3".
Right.
Former cruiserweight. I believe he started at light heavyweight actually, and Szpilka was never that good, man. He was always so hittable. Tarver's not that easy to hit. If he doesn't want you to hit him, you know, he's got that elusiveness. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Don't use the S word here.
Sorry.
Elusivity.
The explosivity. Was that?
Elusivity.
Explosivity. But by the way, so all of that to say that I hope Povetkin gets a big fight before he hits 40 because time is clicking. Then again, heavyweights can usually have a little bit more of a shelf life, longer shelf life at heavyweight because, you know, speed isn't all that important in certain fights at heavyweight. So I think Povetkin might still have some time here too. That is if anybody wants to fight him, so because that's the main problem.
Yeah.
People in the
Joshua
chat
basically has to, I think he has to fight him.
Well, that's the thing. When you get a guy like Joshua, he can, if he wants to, he could vacate the belts and still make a shit ton of money.
Yeah, but what's that going to look like? You know what I mean?
Well,
and then Povetkin gets to fight for a vacant belt against, they'll probably actually give him a legit opponent, not a fucking Glasgow. They should give him Glasgow.
Oh, it's Martin.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. People in the chat... What was that? People in the chat.
No legs.
No legs. Yeah, people in the chat room are talking about Bernard Hopkins being on PEDs. That's a difficult. Yeah, that's a difficult one to pin down because yes, of course, if anybody could be a suspect for PEDs, it would have to be a guy who fought until he was 51. On the other hand, you never really saw Hopkins. I mean, I don't know if I want to get into that, but I will say that against De La Hoya, that Hopkins De La Hoya fight, I think they definitely had an agreement prior to the fight of Hopkins not going all out against De La Hoya because it looked like a sparring session. It looked like Hopkins was taking it easy.
That was staged.
I agree, man. I think it was
staged about.
You know, that just reminded me of the recent trend that I've noticed. What's up with these guys? And I'm talking about Ndongo specifically and Duhaupas. What's up with these guys that lose to these American stars and then they go fight out of their city and out of their gym? Ndongo started training in Omaha and Duhaupas is apparently training in Birmingham, Alabama now. Like they said, fighting out of Birmingham, Alabama, Duhaupas, a French guy. Like, what are they making some kind of like deals on the back end where like you kind of let's make it a good fight, you're gonna lose but then you're gonna come to my gym and I'll teach you the slick style or something? Like, well, what's going on here?
What's in Alabama that would make a French guy want to say, yeah, this is where I want to train?
Yeah, well, what the fuck?
That is
I
true.
thought that was
French
weird, man.
Community out there? Is there like a French community that I don't know about?
Yeah, Cajuns, maybe.
Maybe it's the food.
The women.
I don't know about women from Alabama. I've never. I mean, I know Texas women, but Alabama, I've never heard anything. I don't know. It's
Have you guys
interesting.
ever been to France? Come on.
Yeah, but don't their pussies stink over there?
Better looking pickings over there.
I hear the pussy of French women is really nothing. Like it stinks a little bit. That's what I heard. Unless you're into that type of stuff, I don't know. Like
Yeah,
Nicolas
that's a
Ferreris.
unique French trait.
Is it true or not?
I've had a couple of Haitian girls. They're not bad. I don't know if they speak French.
Yeah, they speak French in Haiti.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
anyway,
French.
my point is, I was gonna say BDA. That fight with De La Hoya and Hopkins looked. I didn't like De La Hoya's reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
pounding the canvas after a body shot.
It's like a delayed reaction, and he act like over the top.
That's the last thing you want to do is fucking move your upper body or pound the canvas after you get knocked out to the body. But to my point, to my point, like all these guys, Mosley, after they fight De La Hoya, Hopkins, they start working with him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the trend I've been noticing for a while, especially lately with these, with Crawford and Wilder.
And it's interesting, I guess, Crawford Indongo was a body shot. So, kind of like a little De La Hoya thing going there, De La Hoya Hopkins. It's interesting, though, because when that De La Hoya Hopkins thing happened, a lot of people cried conspiracy theory on the internet, But I did think it was weird the way De La Hoya was acting after, like, he's rolling around the floor and pounding the canvas. But that's not really the thing that set me off. The thing that set me off was just the way Hopkins wasn't, because I understand Hopkins. Everybody thought he was gonna have to put pressure, and instead he showed he could outbox the smaller guy. But he was stabbing De La Hoya at certain points. Like he wasn't trying to rough him up on the inside the way he did with other guys like Willem Joppy or Antoine Eccles. So that's the thing that really made me suspicious. But anyway, look, that fight happened. It's gonna be 14 years now in September. So the past.
Bro, you can't beat on your boss, man. You gotta be careful with that.
Exactly. That's the thing. And again, I don't want to compare De La Hoya to Gatti, because Gatti was the epitome of toughness. But you saw when he took that. I mean, everybody knows here who's taking a body shot. When you take a body shot, you get paralyzed. Sometimes you can't even scream. Meanwhile, De La Hoya is screaming. So
it takes a whole week. You can't breathe, so you panic. That's the problem. That's why if a lot of fighters are roll around on the floor, because they get hit and it just takes everything out of them. So when they try to breathe, they can't. They're fucking suffocating, sort of thing. So they panic. It's a terrible shot for anyone. De La Hoya, right, has got a fantastic chin, though. That's one thing about De La Hoya, man. He's got a great chin. So to stop De La Hoya, man, you're going to have to hit him with body shots like that.
Yeah. Even Pacquiao couldn't put him down. I mean, he was giving me a beating, but that De La Hoya chin, man, pretty good chin. Pretty fucking good chin. If he ever gets into a fight with a ecstasy riddled tranny in the street, he's gonna that tranny better have a pack of punch, man, because De La Hoya has a very good chin, and I never heard anybody criticize his chin. Was that?
I think
he's not on clenbuterol anymore, though, is he?
The thing is, though, he doesn't. De La Hoya is one of them fighters. He's been in with the best. He doesn't look like he's been in a fight in his life. He's still got that young-looking face that's not took a bruise in its life, sort of thing. So he holds a punch quite well as well. Whereas Ricky Hatton, man, you can fucking glance him on the face, and he's got a 7-inch cut or something like that. Some guys just swell up and cut easily. De La Hoya's not a mark on the guy. Bit like Floyd, really.
Yeah, man, that's true. Some people, I mean, De La Hoya did get bruised up a little bit, but listen, in general, the wider you are, the more the damage is going to show. I mean, it just makes sense, right? I mean, if your skin is pale, it's going to show up. But if you got darker skin, then that's why I always tell people, look, if you're going to box, get a tan before the fight. Because I mean, you take a look at GSP.
I don't know that.
Was that?
I was just going to say, Eric Morales used to look like a fucking train at him in some of them fights, man. And he's darker than De La Hoya, isn't he?
That's true. Yeah, so there might be exceptions, or my theory could be bullshit. I don't know. But what I was going to say was, you take a look at a guy like George St. Pierre in UFC. He's got to be one of the worst. This guy gets a tiny little scratch, and he looks like he was hit with the head and the face with a shovel. This guy's skin breaks out very easily with the punches. So depends, man.
Lighter skin is thinner. It's physically thinner. This is a fact. This is just how shit is. Lighter skin is thinner because you gotta living up north where there's less sun. You gotta get more sunshine through to your body to produce vitamin D, right? So by contrast, if you're living in Africa, there's tons of sun there. You got to block a lot of that stuff out, so your skin is naturally going to be thicker.
Because it's very rare. It's very rare you'll see a black guy really busted up, like his face looks like he's been hit by a train wreck. I mean, I know
And
Jeff
they don't
Lacey,
cut as much either, right? They don't cut as much.
No, they don't. They don't. Jeff Lacey looked like. I mean, he looked mashed up that night, but he must have took 1,000 punches.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a limit to everything, obviously. I mean. It's not like they have a leather face. I mean, speaking of Hopkins, when he fought William Joppy, had to be one of the worst facial damage I've ever seen from Joppy. The guy everybody was saying he looked like the Elephant Man. It was absolutely, I've never seen somebody look like that before. That whole face, not just one part like Rahman against Holyfield, that whole fucking face. You know what? In fact, I want to put that picture up on the screen if anybody's not familiar with what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm exaggerating. No, I'm not exaggerating. Looking at it back right now.
I mean, Scott Quigg looked funny, didn't he? He looked like he looked like an extraterrestrial. He did after that fight with.
You're talking about against Valdez?
Yeah, against Valdez. Yeah, he looked like an extraterrestrial, didn't he? After that fight, man, his fucking forehead was.
Did he break Quigg's, or he fractured his jaw, something like that?
Nah, Frampton did. Frampton fractured his jaw.
No. Quigg had a broken. Not Quigg. Sorry. Valdez had a fractured jaw also.
Yeah, he did. Quigg's nose was clearly broke. Clearly.
Man, I gotta give credit to these guys that fight on with broken jaws or fractured bones, because I mean, they always say that when you have a fractured orbital bone, it feels like it's itchy. You know, like you just want to itch. It must be grating on you. And so when guys fight on like that, like Margarito, even though he's fucking insane, I mean, you gotta kind of give it up to the guy. Then again, you saw what happens with guys like, with Vitaly Klitschko and Israel Vasquez. People accuse them of being quitters because of facial damage. But then they come back stronger. Whereas if they would have continued with those injuries, their careers might be.
Vitaly Klitschko was going crazy. He didn't want to quit. They stopped the fight. The doctor stopped the fight. He didn't quit from that fight. He quit from a shoulder injury.
I was referring to the Chris Bird fight.
Yeah,
fucking Vitaly's crazy, man. Did you?
Sorry, I thought you was on about.
He got so many cuts in his face, and he's like, he's not even paying attention to it. He's like, nah, I got him. I'm about to knock this dude out. Why the fuck are you stopping the fight? I'm like, man, one more hit looks like, something bad could happen. Even though he
was worst
his ass, man. But,
yeah, worst cuts I've ever seen in boxing, especially that cut in his mouth. Fuck me, I bet it was sore.
Yeah, that was insane.
I bet that was sore the next day. Jesus Christ.
He had a lot to prove in that fight, having quit before,
It wasn't even in his mind. He was genuinely pissed off. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you stopping this fight? I'm like, man, are you looking at what everybody else is looking at?
Yeah, well, obviously he couldn't see. I mean, I'm guessing he could feel. Yeah. Corrales, when he fought Joel Casamayor, I think the mouthpiece cracked or something, and it actually split his lip, and the blood was just.
All this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
All this talk of facial damage just made me, sorry to interrupt you, just made me think of Danny Jacobs again. If you guys take a closer look at him, he does not look 31, man. He looks like he's 42. His face is all lumped up, not from fighting, but let me make my point. He went through like 20 or 30 rounds of chemo, and that shit ages you, not just superficially, but just physically in general. I mean, that's fucking life depleting radiation, you know what I mean? That's like a mini nuke exploding in your body, basically. And maybe that's why he's declining at the ripe age of 31, 32, you know what I mean? Because he hadn't really taken that much damage in his career.
Right.
I'm wondering if that's what it is.
Yeah, there's something I was looking at his face, and I was saying to myself, it looks lumped up, a little bloated. like
Yeah, he always
Bret
looks like
Wyatt.
that.
There's something, you know.
He's
And
got
I'm
these
saying this
huge
stuff.
bags under his eyes and shit.
Yep, yep.
And he was
Yeah,
bleeding from the
he doesn't
back.
look 31, man.
No, he looks older than that.
And he was bleeding from the back last night as well.
Yeah.
No, what the fuck was that? No.
I think that's Sulecki's nose.
Could have been the ropes, maybe.
Sulecki's nose, I think it was. He did get stitches back there, though. Maybe a suture opened up.
All right, so now about radiation
Well, how
treatment.
much is Jacobs is declining? I mean, I don't know, man. I want to see him against another elite fighter like a Charlo, and I think Jacobs can step up his game, though. I mean, I think he was just overconfident. He wasn't. I mean, who the hell is Sulecki, right?
But if you
It's just a
listen
step-up
to him going into the fight, Bucho, he was saying that this is a trap fight. This is a dangerous fight for me. I have to take this guy
Yeah.
seriously. Like, he was doing that whole thing.
But they always say that, right? They don't want to. They're never gonna say it's an easy opponent. They always like, "Oh, this is a tough. I'm not gonna."
But look, I'm not saying he prepared as well as he prepared for Triple G. Okay, I'm not saying that, but I still think he gave it, 100%. Maybe not 110, and I know that doesn't make sense really, but I don't buy that because look, you're with the new promoter. There are potentially very big fights ahead. You're about to end your career, cash out. You don't have much time left. You're not fucking around at this point in time. You know what I mean? Especially after you just got denied and you thought you won against Golovkin.
Well, I'll say this, man. I think he did give it his all against Sulecki. Against Triple G, we talked about that earlier, but I don't know. I mean, first of all, I wanted to get back to the cancer treatment because it's true, man. I mean, fucking radiation, chemo. Did he indeed have chemo and radiation, or did he just have one of the one part of the treatment?
No, he went through like I want to say 21 bouts of chemo, like serious chemo, man.
Jeez, I mean, yeah,
it was like 20 or 30, I forget.
And usually guys his age don't go through chemo. I mean, usually guys his age don't get cancer, right?
Nowadays they do.
But
yeah.
I gotta tell you, that whole cancer talk, yeah, I mean, we could do a whole episode of Second Renaissance on that and the chemo. I mean, is that the best they've got? Is that the best solution? They've got chemo and radiation?
Fuck no.
Cannabis oils is the best for cancer.
Yeah, what's that called? The oil, CBT or CTV? What do they call it?
Precise will know that. I don't.
CBD, yeah. CBD oils. Well, what are you trying to say over there?
Precise is like a medical doctor. He just knows everything about this medical shit, man.
Okay, thanks. I thought you were calling me a pothead. I haven't had weed in like 4 or 5 days, bro. Come on now.
Well, I'm curious, Precise, when did you start smoking weed? Did you start pretty late in your life or?
15, 16.
Now, have you, because that's the thing, they always say, well, if you start smoking marijuana when you're very young, it can impact your long-term memory. I mean, I know it's a difficult question to answer because you know, it's how do you quantify that, but how do you feel in terms of your memory? Do you think it's still as sharp as ever or even sharper?
Well, what was the question again? Long-term memory? I've never had great long-term memory. Look, if something like awesome happens and worthy of memorizing, I'll catalog it and I'll put it in the memory bank. If something trivial happens, I tend to just block that shit out. But there's things that I remember vividly to this day that happened when I was like 4 or 5 years old. You know what I mean? But then there's a lot of stuff that I just don't. I think it really only affects your short-term memory while you're high, basically. So things that happen while you're high, you have a hard time remembering necessarily. But long-term memory, I don't know. You know, they say a lot of things, right? One day coffee's good, the next day there's a study that says coffee's bad. So, you know what I mean?
And by the way, Roddy Davies says, I have 50 years with cannabis. Jeez. I mean, this guy Rod was touring, banging groupies and doing weed and God knows what else when we weren't even born. So shout out to Roddy Davies, man. Keep playing that guitar, man. And doing that.
Yeah, we're puppies.
Oh yeah, compared to him, man, jeez. But yeah, okay, but was there ever a period, Because you said, oh, it's been 5 days since I haven't smoked weed. Was there ever a period where you were doing it every day, or?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But
And,
I would always just like be into it for a period, and then I would go a year, 2 years, 6 months without it. I don't know. It's just I don't know why that is, to be honest with you. It's just I don't have the urge, or maybe I just didn't have it, and I didn't care, like looking for it. But I go off and on. I don't know.
Yeah, the reason why
I must admit, I have a joint now and again, spliff now and again. I'll get a little bit. I'll get a 20, and it'll last me fucking ages. Well, now and again, I can't get stoned and then get up in the morning and go to work. Just makes you a bit lethargic, I think. And you know, when you've got things to do and bills to pay, you don't need to be fucking feeling lethargic in the morning and pulling lazy ones off work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I never get stoned. I basically just microdose, if that's possible. Maybe not micro, but just a little bit, like a puff here and there, just to enhance your mood, and that's it. I hate being I hate being out of control or not in control. Basically, I can't stand that.
I can't drink a beer and have a spliff at the same time. It fucks me right up, man.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it happened to me once too. Yeah. What was that, Apology?
Yeah, I drink beer. I can't stomach that thing. Like one sip and I'm throwing up already. I don't know why.
Well, that's because
I don't drink anything anymore.
Yeah, but Apology, you live a pretty. So you don't drink either, is what you're saying? Apology.
I drink.
I used to a little bit. I was.
Beer.
Are you Muslim? Like, I don't mean anything by it, but you just seem so like strict and a little bit traditional. I would say.
I drink, but not that much. I don't know, it's never was.
No, your religion, motherfucker.
He's trying. Yeah, I think he's trying to avoid the question, man. Well, look, if he doesn't want to answer,
Pastor Apology. Okay, we're gonna have to call him Pastor Apology from now on.
Yeah.
I mean, I drink. So.
Last time Apology drank was the wine when he was doing his communion, isn't it?
Okay, religion. Now I'm curious. Jesus Christ.
You're curious about what? Oh, he muted his mic. Look, listen, I don't know.
Apology's religion.
Yeah, religion. His religion.
Well, if he's
make that religion.
I'm agnostic.
What about your parents? What were they? Like, are you comfortable answering it? If not, just tell me and we won't press the issue anymore. Christian, okay, there you
go. What did I say last night, boys? What did I say? I said, I bet Apology comes from a strict black Christian background and he's been brought up. I said that last night. I could tell,
he did.
So
he did. I remember I remember his prediction. Stu seems to have a good prediction track when it comes to boxing-wise, not so much, but out everything else, he has a good.
My predictions are too bad.
I'm kidding. Jeez. But yeah, the reason why I'm interested in that whole weed thing is because it's interesting how weed went from being demonized way back in the day. Then the pendulum swung a little bit, and it swung to the point where everybody was like, oh yeah, you can smoke weed every day, there's nothing wrong. And now we're getting into a bit of more of a middle ground where it's not a demonic thing, the way that we're saying, but it might also not be all that great if you're smoking every fucking day.
You know why that is?
Which part? Of the propaganda part or the...
Why weed was very illegal at first, and now it's even promoted by the government in some countries. Like, it's becoming legal essentially, or medical marijuana is anyway, which is just a cover up for whatever. You go to your doctor, you say your back hurts, and he gives you a prescription.
I got a feeling it's going to be legal most places soon. I mean, the government actually make quite a lot of money out of weed. I think it keeps that. I think Amsterdam weed industry keeps the Dutch economy going. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's not about the money. As far as the government is concerned, it's not about the money, because the government prints money, so they don't need to make money. They'll just print whatever they need. But natural weed is one of those drugs that basically opens up your mind to the possibilities. It makes you think, it makes you question the government. Nowadays, with the whole thing, DAPS or whatever it's called, I don't know if you guys know what that shit is, but like the weed, now that government has been getting into it for the last decade or so, and they've enhanced the weed, they've made it very strong, they've concentrated it in forms of oils, hashes, and just better and better strains. what it does nowadays, it turns you into a fucking zombie. So you no longer think, you're just complacent, and you go along with the program. So this government weed is that like new enhanced GMO type shit that's no longer the same type of marijuana that Bob Marley was smoking, basically, that made him, you know, want to free the world. So that's why now it's
Jamaica. When you go to Jamaica, it's completely different weed. It's like it even looks different. You know, skunk weed is completely that's a man-made plant where the weed they smoke is from the ground, and it actually looks like nettles half the time, but it's a different smoke altogether. I mean, my brother, he likes to smoke. He pays actually £70 3 grams. I mean, which is about $100 and something for 3 grams of weed. He gets it off the black web, whatever it's called, the dark web, whatever it's called. He gets it off that, and he pays ridiculous money for this thing, but it's pure from all them chemicals. Nice was talking about that a lot of the weed has these days that fries your brain.
Yeah,
it's interesting, man. That fucking theory about how they're selling now, the government is selling this zombie weed. That I never thought about that, but I mean, is that true that they're really? Because that's what I've heard. Some people say, yeah, it's the weed of today is more powerful than the one from the 70s and 80s. Then again, in another website, somebody was saying that was a myth. So I mean, I'm not an expert in this shit.
No. It's so much stronger these days than it used to be. I mean, come on.
My dad said that. My dad's from the 60s, right? And when we were younger, he had a smoke with us. And he said, fucking hell, he goes, the weed these days is 10 times stronger than the stuff we used to smoke. He goes, that's not good. The weed we had used to make you giggle and laugh. But this stuff just fries your brain. You don't want to do fuck all, do you? Just eat and sit and watch. That's all you want to do, sit down and eat.
Back in the day, America used to import the vast majority of their weed from Mexico. And that stuff was always kind of, you know, just grown in a big field, brickback, right? Not that good. Just whatever kind of weed. But
twigs and seed weed sort of thing.
Yeah, now it's all indoor with all kinds of fertilizers and all kinds of shit in it, you know. So it's many times more potent than what it used to be, many times. Just like all of our fruits, vegetables, grains, and everything that scientists get involved in, like it's all hybridized. It's none of this shit is natural. Apples, oranges, carrots, grain, none of that stuff is natural. It's all created. It's all man-made.
Oh my god.
What about in the UK? In the UK, bananas have to be a certain size, or they're not meant to be sold.
This fucking god.
All right, so hold on a second. Yeah, I just want to say we got 3-piece boxing, aka Jimmy's Corner, on the line. Jimmy, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
What's up, buddy? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, no, I can hear you guys fine. I totally forget. I'm over here fucking kicking my cat and smoking a bowl, thinking I'm quiet. You guys are picking up on it all, and I'm giggling as you talk about weed.
Well, that's
yeah. Hey, precise again, right on the money, man. I've been smoking weed since I've been about 2, so that's a lot of fucking years, and it's so much stronger. Like the shit back in the 80s, man. I mean, used to, you know, they would give the names like Panama Red, you know, Acapulco Gold. It was just brick Mexican weed, you know what I mean? But they just slap these names. But now you got, I mean, I'm smoking some shit. I think it's called fucking Purple Haze or some shit. I don't know. I'm too stoned to remember, but it's
Purple Haze. Purple Haze.
Yeah, it's great.
That's been around in the UK for many years. That's an old weed. That is. Purple
Yeah, but it's enhanced now, man. It's hybridized. It's like it's not what it used to be.
Yeah,
even if it's called the same.
It's they've you got these, especially where I live. It's legal now. I mean, I can literally walk across the street right now smoking a bowl right in front of the police. It's crazy. So we have like head shops now, and so now you got college kids. It's become more acceptable. So you got these chemists and shit just going berserk. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And just, you know, doing all kinds of crazy shit. But yes, no, BDA, you're right. It does affect. I feel it affects definitely my short-term memory. Like, dude, swear to God, the other day I forgot I couldn't spell my middle name. My middle name's Michael, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I haven't written it in 20 years. But I was stoned as a fart, so yeah. But long term, it doesn't affect that. But I mean, it helps with my nauseous. I'm on medicine, so I'm really nauseous. So it absolutely helps with that.
Right.
But I hear exactly with like people with cancer and whatnot. Absolutely, it helps. But I see some people say it helps with boxing. I don't see that at all. I mean, it might help you if you have ADD. It might help you focus a little. But if you're smoking fucking weed, it's counterproductive. It's heavy in tars. Well, I guess you could take it orally and, eat a THC, but
Well, you
why
could
bother?
microdose it too. If you take a lot of it, you get a certain effect. If you take just a little bit, it's a different effect. If you isolate some of the compounds, it's a whole different thing altogether too.
Yeah,
Because weed has a
exactly.
lot of crap in it too when you smoke it, right? But say you were to isolate just the good parts and
Just
fucking
certain
inject them even.
aspects of it.
Do you guys have
Yeah.
a thing over there? Do you guys have a thing over there like we've got it in the UK where if the police pull you over and your car smells of cannabis, they can actually give you a drug test on the spot for cannabis and they take your license off you?
No, not yet.
No, you don't have
But
that.
now that it's legal, they're going to start working towards that because when it was illegal, it was just illegal. You shouldn't be on it. You shouldn't be smoking it in possession. But now that it's legal, they're running into that here. They're pulling kids over and they're just fucking, you could blindfold them with dental floss. They're so stoned, right? And they're just fucking like, what do we judge this on? So they're trying different field sobriety tests. They know that marijuana will slow your effects to they get kids stoned and have them do these tests on, computers and whatnot. It slows just certain things like that. But yeah, they eventually want to get to that. They
I
will. It'll go against your
participated in a
insurance
study
points.
like that. Yeah, I participated in a
Oh,
medical
did you?
marijuana study. Yeah, where they were testing out synthesized or chemical THC or
Yeah.
synthetic THC rather. And they would give me a pill, and a lot of the times it was placebo. But then one time they gave me a pill, and it definitely worked. But they would give me a pill and have me play like these really simple computer games, just to, I guess, test my reaction time and my performance and shit like that. But it was cool.
Yeah, it definitely affects that stuff. But I definitely I also play guitar, piano when I'm kind of a musician and shit. So, and I know I focus better when I'm stoned. But there is some, drawbacks and shit. But I'll tell you right now, I don't know one person who's ever smoked themselves to death. But I've buried, I don't know how many fucking friends and family from booze, drunk
Yeah.
driving, fucking murdered. They get in some stupid fight in a bar and got stabbed because they were drunk and weren't smart enough to walk away. I mean, how many fucking child abuse and all the other bullshit goes along with alcohol? But that was never illegal because it was too much money. That's what it's all about. The government pretends they care. No, they don't care. They just couldn't figure out how to make money off marijuana.
That's true.
No, they can't. So it's in Boston where you are that they have medical
Yes.
marijuana now?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Everywhere.
I got a card. I mean, I fucking, they got it. Yeah, it's legal here now. Up until about 2 years ago, they passed it. It was basically if you got caught with anything more than an ounce, you could get arrested. So what happened? Everybody started selling ounces at instead of 28 with the baggie, it's 27. So that way you wouldn't get caught with it. But they keep it and it's expensive. And then it was $100 ticket. But what happened? There was nothing they could do if you didn't pay the $100 fine. See, as you guys, it's probably the same thing in UK. If you get a written moving violation, you don't pay it, they probably pull your license when you go to get your license, right? Same deal with anything else here, except for marijuana. You get these $100 tickets, but it didn't go nothing. If you didn't pay it, there was no recourse. So the cops basically stopped writing the tickets for it. And then they finally just said, screw it, we'll just pass it. Now it's totally legal. I mean, you still can't go. I mean, I couldn't go sell 50 fucking pounds. I could still get picked up for that, but
The thing is, over here, they're starting to attack the smokers. Cigarettes have gone off the roof for price. Weed as well. They're attacking the amount of people I know that have lost their jobs, that have been there years, where they brought out random drug tests. My mates have been getting stoned every night, not knowing, before you know.
That's terrible.
Yeah, skunk
That's
stays.
terrible. That's horrible, man. People losing a job.
I know a few people have lost their jobs through smoking weed.
That's terrible.
So long.
What's that?
Skunk stays in your system for 2-3 months sometimes.
Oh yeah, a long time. Absolutely, stays in the system a long time. Listen, last time I was in the UK, it was 2001 or 2. I can't remember exactly, but it was weird because I was there with my friend and a few other people. We were looking at a party and whatnot. And I don't know if it's different now, but I'm telling you, back then it was easier to get cocaine than it was weed. I mean, everybody was like, I can get you some coke, but it was just maybe it was just the way it was then. Where the people I was asking, we were in the East End.
It still is it's like that now, bro. I bet coke's
Really?
easy to get. Yeah, coke's easy to get than weed.
That blows my mind.
Well, the UK.
So it wasn't just. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. The Crown made opium readily available in China at one point.
Oh yeah, they made tons of money off that. They ran that for the longest time until the Chinese
they don't give
had
a
that
shit.
war.
Yeah, they don't give
But
a
I
shit
remember,
about
so
us.
see, I'm glad I asked you that, Stuart, because for years it bothered me. I'm like, did I look like a cokehead? I was kind of jacked up then because everybody I talked with in East End, they're like, no, man, but I can get you some American, they had weird names for it, but everybody was totally cool, I mean, that was the tough part of London too, the East End, right? That's like where those brothers, what was it, the Frey brothers?
The Craze.
The Craze, and there was another two psychos they fucking brattled with, right? That was a good movie. I saw that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fucking tough pricks over there.
East London's not like that no more, bro.
And you know what? And I'll tell you right now, you can see the look in their face. But I'll tell you what, even as tough an area as that is, everybody was super cool. Just straight up, total gentlemen. Everybody was just good people, good. I loved it there.
Guys, a lot of them
Great
people,
country.
they've moved out of East London. If you go to East London now, it's basically, that's a Muslim area, East London now. A lot of them guys you're talking about, they all live in Eddie Hearn's land, Essex and all around there. They've all moved out.
Okay.
London's like a different
I think
place.
I was there. Yeah, it was 2001, and I remember somebody saying that around 2001. A couple of local guys were saying, "Yeah, we're losing this," and exactly what they said. It was the same thing when I was in Paris that same year. We went all over Europe, and that's what they were saying. Like here, we have we'll have Spanish minorities and whatnot in the projects in where I live in Lowell, but in Paris it was all Muslims. It was all Iranians and people from Pakistan. So I saw they were the ones on the street. So
Paris
what's
is
that,
worse than London. Paris is worse than London, I think. It's
London has a higher crime rate than New York and Boston probably right now.
Yeah, crime it is. London's a shithole. I've told you guys, don't come here, man. I've told you guys, don't come here. It's not worth it.
Somebody stole my neighbor's chicken yesterday.
What?
Not bragging or anything.
All right, stop it. By the way,
you know my feelings towards roosters, precise. I'm gonna come and hunt you down.
It for sure got eaten. For sure, you got to get rid of the evidence, bro.
I have a question for anybody with you guys who are experienced drug users. Now that weed is being legalized and it doesn't have the stigma that it had a couple of years ago, what about psychedelics? Because if we're talking about negative effects, psychedelics they're not dangerous either. I mean, if you take them in moderation, beer and alcohol is actually more dangerous than weed and psychedelics. So the same arguments that they're being using to legalize weed, that applies to psychedelics too, right?
No, because they actually open up your mind. Weed is a psychedelic, or it used to be. I don't know what it is these days.
It's still classified. Yeah, it's still classified as a psychedelic.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
But like LSD, mushrooms, and all that stuff, it makes you open up your mind and ask questions. So that's gonna be illegal for a while till they can synthesize that to do something.
You got some great trips off of that LSD, boy.
Fuck, dude, I can't stand that shit. I had a bad trip at a wedding in Maine. I went to a wedding. It was in a castle in Maine, and it was a stormy night, right? I'm on LSD after the wedding, and I'm laying in my room, right? It was like a tin roof and this old type, and the rain was hitting it. Oh, I was fucking freaking out. I couldn't it wouldn't stop. Fuck! It was horrible. I'll never take it again.
I took one. It was like going to hell. It was
right.
My head was exploding. I was seeing things coming out the walls.
Oh yeah.
And it was good fun for a while, but after like 18 hours, and you're still fucking crawling the walls. Oh, worse is
It deprograms you. Like they actually did studies on the old marijuana, LSD, and things like that. And what they found is that if you take these drugs, they mind control doesn't work on you. MK Ultra was. I'm sure everybody knows about that program. When they started to experimenting on people who were psychedelic drug users, they found out that it doesn't work. So the government doesn't want these things to be legal at all, because you know what, the reason why, in my opinion, psychedelics are scary for a lot of first-time users, and I definitely experienced the same thing, is because they pull back the curtain, man. They make you see shit for what it is, and to a point where it's hyper real, it's surreal. They make the demons come out basically, and a lot of people are so indoctrinated, they don't want to deal with that. You know, we're so like used to what we think life is that once we see something different, it scares us.
Exactly. No, you're a sharp kid, Precise. You're a smart kid, man. You really are. You're a sharp dude. No, and in fact, like you guys know, like ecstasy, right? MDMA.
Yeah.
That's that was originally designed to get children who've been abused out of their hole, because children who've faced massive abuse, maybe rape, just horrible shit. That a lot of them build up a wall; they won't speak. So that was designed, I think. Actually, but I think it might have been a British doctor who designed MDMA, and of course, everything. We took it, and it's like, wow, yeah, I'll tell you anything you fucking want to hear. I took it with my wife the first time we were in Aruba. And it was awesome. It was great. I remember I was in the middle of texting my buddy Scotty, could tell him this shit you gave me for a wedding present. We were sucked. I took it. It was like 20 minutes went by, and I'm waiting. I got the patience of an executioner, and I'm like, what the fuck? This sucks. I'm in the middle of texting him, and all of a sudden it hits. I'm like, oh my God. I'm over there rubbing my wife's head. I'm fucking telling her every dark secret I ever fucking held. Oh, it was fucking horrible. But it was a good time. But then once it happened, then all of a sudden once the mob got involved and they started mixing Robitussin with it, and you had to buy twice as much. Yeah, it's terrible.
It used to be used in therapy, actually. It was legal, and it was used in group therapy. MDMA.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll work, man. If we all sat around right now, dude, I took it with I'm telling you right now, I took it with a Hell's Angel. Well, he's not a Hell's Angel anymore. Scotty Monahan, he was a Hell's Angel at the time. So you know Hell's Angels, how you ever see them, no matter if they're in a nightclub, they got sunglasses on, even if it's 2 a.m, right? So, I mean, they're just hard 24/7. This fucking dude was, oh my God. He's like, oh yeah, when I was 12. And I remember the next day, he's like, dude, don't tell anybody some of the shit I was saying. Oh, he was letting people try his vest on and shit. Yeah, no, put it on, man. It's cool.
Oh,
and I'm saying to myself, oh my God. Because straight, he would have never done that. Like, you don't even touch their vest, never mind put it on. Right. And he's got people, hey, try it on, dude. Wow, looks good on you. I'm like, wow, this dude's tripping. But yeah, no, I had some good times. But of course, like everything, I took it to excess, and I ended up taking it, check myself in. But and I'll tell you right now, I've seen fucking dudes doing 2 grams, 3 grams of heroin a day suffer not half as much as people coming off alcohol. You want to see motherfuckers suffer? There's only 2 narcotics that can kill the human body. If you just stop, say you build up, there's obviously use, abuse, and addiction. Once you cross that line to addiction, there's only 2 drugs that will kill you if you just quit cold turkey. One is alcohol, because you go into DTs. You see them, they go into seizures. Mm-hmm. And the other is Valium, or any, what's the correct name of it? Ativan, Valium, that type of shit. It's a barbiturate, but I can't, whatever. But that type of drug is the same thing as alcohol. They'll kill you. You can actually have a seizure and die. You can be a fucking shooting half a key a day of heroin. You might feel like you're going to die, but you won't. But that's because booze is such a foreign thing to the human body. That's why boxes, it's the worst thing a fighter can do. And I'll tell you, not to always bring up Mickey, but that's the one guy I got to go to. But that used to be an issue with Mickey. Was the booze. That was his hardest thing, was putting a beer down, because Mickey likes to bend an elbow.
Wait a minute. Are you saying Irish people like to drink?
And he likes to fucking, he can drink too. My God, that little prick can put beers down. Drink me under the fucking table. But yeah, so that was a hard thing for him, but he would stop once he hit that certain time. But he never really fucking fought. He walked around about 15, 20 pounds above his fight weight. He never let himself go. You know, that's the thing these guys do. They go so inactive for so long. They just, I mean, look at that kid last night from Top Rank, right? What, he been fighting over a year? His fucking, he looked soft in his sides. His timing was off. He looked like a guy who hasn't fought in a long time.
You're talking about Jesse Magdaleno, right?
No, he's just fat.
Is that X?
No, that's...
Is that X who just said that?
That's Apology Man.
I'm not X. Don't ever mistake me for that again.
By the way,
about that.
we were talking about psychedelics.
By the way, guys, just to let you know, X, I got an update. X is in jail.
Oh shit!
Yeah. What did he do?
They finally caught him.
Oh, that's a shame.
So he'll be away for a little while. Now he owes child support.
I'm pretty sure it's not the first time, right?
Back payments.
Freddie went big time.
That he's James Bond or something like that. No,
I did warn him.
It was parking tickets, but he'll tell you it was something more hardcore, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's something more hardcore, but no, it was. He owes child support money. That's all.
Oh yeah, gangsta.
Tom, can you get me off the
That's your gangsta.
road type's sake? Can't do it, Sally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to get him off the hook. Now, it's interesting. We were talking about psychedelics earlier. And we talked about it in Second Renaissance, I think, a little bit about how psychedelics and, Precise was mentioning how it used to be legal back in the days in universities. They could use it to conduct studies. That was proven back in the 60s that if you could use LSD or mescaline and other psychedelics to cure alcohol addiction and other types of addictions. And then all of a sudden, whoops, illegal. And if you're a university professor and you want to study it, you got to jump through hoops to get a permit just to have the stuff with you. So, I mean, this was proven in the 60s, and it's only now that it's coming back and people are actually studying that for addiction. So I don't know what's going on there.
Well, it's fucked up. It's weird how they make you get off one drug with another. You guys know how heroin was invented or it was made, right? It was a German doctor. Back in the day, you could go into a CVS and buy a bottle of morphine and your syringes and go home and party. So believe it or not, as bad as like heroin, I don't know how it is in the UK, which I know was brutal. Real bad, especially in Scotland and whatnot, but it's been horrific here. It's been an epidemic in the last 10 years, right? But heroin was invented by a German doctor trying to get his wife off methadone. So he invented, that's how it was first branded. It was the cure-all to fucking morphine addiction.
They used to put it on teething toddlers' gums to stop the pain.
Oh yeah.
Like heroin.
Well, that syrup you buy. My grandmother has a couple of bottles. It just says a keepsake, but it is you read right on the back. It says opium is the first ingredient. But then you read it cures colicky baby, fucking bad back, headaches. Of course, you're stoned up your ass.
Well, Adderall is basically speed. It's amphetamine, and ADHD doesn't even fucking exist, man. But so they're giving 6-year-olds methamphetamine, essentially.
Yep.
So nothing has changed, really. Just the name of the drug and the packaging.
Well, I can read the bottle right here in front of me. It says methamphetamine salts. I have instant release in a capsule. It's not mine. It's my roommate. He lives with me now, but he's been on it for years. But yeah, it says right here, methamphetamine salts. So that's the instant release, and then they have the fucking time capsule. Yeah, that's all it is. I know because I've seen him when he's done too much, and I watch him. He's grinding his jaw. I'm like, dude, what are you doing, kid? You're grinding your fucking teeth, kid. Yeah, I think I took too much.
Yeah, a bunch of babies selling their toys because they're addicted to heroin, trying to get their next fix. But it's interesting, man. I mean, but it's interesting with this fucking like you mentioned that alcohol for heroin. If you're addicted to heroin, they give you Subutex, which is essentially just another fucking
Subutex.
Yeah, well, isn't that heroin itself as well?
No. What it is, it's a beta blocker. What it does is I'll do it real as quick as possible. When you shoot heroin, picture these little cells in your head. You have like these little receptor cones. Those are your pleasure cones. When you use heroin, it's an artificial basic happiness. And so those fill up. And after a while, when you fill those up enough, they make extra. So what happens when you get off the heroin and you're sick, basically you get like you feel like you want to die. You're just morbid. You don't have no sex drive, all that other shit. Subutex is a beta blocker, or Subutex is doesn't have the naltrexone on it. Naltrexone gets you sick if you take. Say if you're on Subutex, you can take heroin, you won't get sick. If you take Suboxone, that's the same as Subutex, but it has naltrexone in it. It'll make you violently ill. And you can also, if you drink alcohol, it makes you violently ill. Just another deterrent. And I learned all this when I was, like I said, I went away and cleaned my act up, but. All I do now is smoke, but yeah, no, but that's a confusion. A lot of people think it's an opioid base. It's like it has the same chemical compounds, like that if
the
you
structure,
draw it out,
like the key.
Thank you.
The shape of the key is basically the same as the actual scag, and it fits into the keyhole, which is the receptor, and it kind of plugs it up, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So you can't get high off of it anymore. No.
Did you have medical training, dude?
Before I do anything, I research it.
That's nice. No, that's good, brother. You're 100% correct, bro. You're right on the money.
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
That.
That's an excellent way to explain that. I'm gonna remember that. Yeah, it's a beta blocker. But yeah, so that's. But I know a lot of people, and I'll tell you right now, I knew them when they were heroin addicts because what happened once those OxyContins came around in the late '90s, so many motherfuckers got hooked on those, and then of course when they went up to $80 a pill, they just bought a dime bag, you know. So I saw a lot of people either died or they get on that Subutex and they were able to go back to work, have kids. So that's what, if it was really like heroin, you wouldn't do all that other shit. Because if you're doing heroin, you're also looking to do coke for speedballing and all that other shit.
But
so,
now let me ask you.
Let
me ask you this: Subutex, that must be. Isn't it pretty expensive?
I'm sorry, checked out, brother.
Subutex, isn't that pretty expensive?
Well, on the street, yeah, it's $10 a strip. It comes in two forms: strip or pill. But it's sublingual. You put it under your tongue. In a strip form or a pill. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's probably $10 to $15 a strip. But still, you know, it's better than methadone. Methadone is ridiculous. That's what they treated heroin addicts for years. That's just pure heroin in liquid form. I used to drive by the clinic every morning on the way to work, see them poor dead souls lined up with their cup, looking for their methadone. Zombies. And the thing with that too, because I was a prison guard for a few years. Actually, Mickey was too. We were both in Brick House of Correction, and we used to see guys come in, dude, and we used to see them kick in their cells. Dude, I couldn't handle it. They would just scream. And one kid, I remember this kid, Quinny, I don't know why, I can't forget. He tried to break his own leg to get pain meds. So they give him something. It was dude, he was trying to break his leg in the fucking between the furnace and they had these old radiators in the cells back then. Oh, it was crazy, dude. They would scream and they'd be in a fetal position, shitting themselves. And I'm talking about the people coming off methadone. The guys coming off heroin, 2 or 3 days, they're still a little shitty, but, you know, they'd be all right. They're at least not shitting themselves. The motherfuckers coming off heroin, they would be suffering for weeks.
Oh, man.
It was terrible. Get your bones. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Germans, basically when the Germans invented that when they lost their supply to the opium. So they invented methadone, which is a chemical compound of opium, to supply their troops. So basically, all it is opium. But
I don't understand why people keep bad-mouthing the Nazis. They came up with a bunch of good stuff, man.
Germans are smart motherfuckers.
Germans
are smart pricks.
By the way, I wanted to ask Jimmy. I wanted to ask you something because you said you went through your own battles with drugs. Now you're smoking weed.
Yes.
Now some people say that after they come out of recovery, they don't want to touch any type of drugs because they say that it's a gateway drug, marijuana. You obviously don't feel that way.
No, I don't. No, not with I wouldn't drink. No way. Because if I drink, then I wouldn't take anything that would make me lose my ability, my will. And alcohol, forget it. I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? Just hide my ATM card because I'm gonna keep hitting that button till it's gone. But you know what I mean? Like that, because it just doesn't end. Then it's let's do a couple of boogers, and then we're up fucking. And of course, then you need landing gear because you're up all night fucking heart racing. So that's what happened to me. And then I used to ride a Harley, and I put a lot of money in that. And I used to live with that type of crew. And so what happens? Just that lifestyle, and I got caught up in it. But weed. No, because weed, I don't want to call it paranoid, but I'm much more clear. Like, I know if I was to ever go back to partying, I'm dead. I'm a dead man. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no time out. Let me do this. I'm dead. I will not survive another one. So I know, and that's fresh in my mind. And it's been 12 years since I've been clean. And when I say clean, I wasn't shooting heroin or anything, but I was out of control with the booze and the coke and just everything. I was not addicted to one thing. It was just, you know what I mean? Whatever you got, put it on the table. Just again, weed just makes me focus. And it actually, if anything, it makes me scared. I think about where I'd go again. I'd lose the respect that I gained back. Because when you get out of control like that, you know what I mean? People want to be around you. You're a fucking loose cannon. So it's just, you have to gain people's trust back because how many people get clean and fall off the wagon? So, it takes years to get it. Everybody knows that I'm not that person anymore. I don't even ride a Harley anymore. I'm not, punching people because they take my parking spot at the mall. I'm not doing stupid shit anymore. So,
but you know what? It sounds to me like you're the type of guy that lives life at 100 miles per hour. And it's interesting because we were talking about Carlos Cuadras. I don't know if you guys heard, but he recently checked himself into rehab because of alcohol and other substance. Yeah, so he's the type. Are you the type of guy? Like, are you a type of 100 miles per hour type of guy that if you do something, you do it all the way? No ifs and buts about it.
To the point where it's almost obsessive. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I'm a woodworker. I make custom made pipes. I'll post some pictures to you guys later, like really exotic wood, crazy pipes. And I've thrown some out that people taking out trash. Dude, are you kidding me? Because I'm like, oh, look at it. It's awful little. Yeah, I get same thing. Like I have to put my guitar down because I'll smash, because I'll be doing fret work up and down keys, and then I just make one mistake, and so it's true. But everything's like that. You're 100% correct.
And by the way, it's interesting you mentioned people in heroin withdrawals, shitting themselves, being in the field position, trying to break their legs. That's the same way people react when they watch Guillermo Rigondeaux fight. But anyway, look, listen, I don't want to denigrate the guy. I don't want to.
Hey, listen, can I tell you what I heard about him? I own some properties, right? And one of my tenants, he married a girl from Miami, this kid Josh, and he married this girl from Miami. So she's from Miami and still has a lot of family down there. It's a very small community. Excuse me. But this is what he told me. So again, but he said that he was told that Guillermo owes a shit ton of people money down there. And he owes one restaurant guy who owns a restaurant who's part of an investor in his career, like $200,000. Because all these years he hasn't been fighting. But you see his pictures, he's living large, the house, the cars. Where's that fucking money coming from? So because he was Guillermo Rigondeaux, the Cubans love him. It's their people. So he had fucking investors. He's telling people, oh, when I'm champion, I'll pay you back this, pay you back that. Because I guess her brother boxes. He's in the gym scene down there. And she speaks, she's first generation Cuban. So, and like the things he was saying. And he also told me that Luis Ortiz is 44 years old. This is what her brother said. That everybody down there knows he's 44. Again,
wow, what shock.
Take it. Right, exactly. It doesn't sound like
years old. That makes sense.
44 years old. And if you look at his body, because I'm fucking, you know what I mean? I'm his age. I'm telling you right now, he don't look like he's 38. He looks more like 44. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but yeah, no, they say Guillermo he's not going to retire because he owes a shit ton of people money, and he's trying, but nobody was offering him anything. Like right now, like, would you give him anything? If you were Showtime or HBO, would you offer him any money? Think about it. If that motherfucker was fighting in my backyard, I'd pull the shades. Come on,
Now that the world knows he's 44, man, he for them sure ain't getting no paydays.
I'm sorry, Ortiz, not Guillermo.
Right.
Ortiz is 44. Ortiz is 44. I'm sorry, you didn't mention anything. I didn't ask him about Guillermo's age, but that's a good question. I should have. But yeah, no, he was pretty adamant that he owes a lot of people money.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, was that a conversation like this one day? It's gonna be some Dominicans sitting there saying, "Mande un tiguerón para la casa de Rigo."
You think they're gonna do a drive-by, man?
They're gonna kill him because he owes them money.
Yeah, apparently that's what he's trying to get.
That means, send somebody to his house quickly. Get the money or end it all.
Jeez. What's it? Was it gold or lead? What's that saying?
Plata o plomo.
Colombians used to use puta or lead or whatever. Yeah, gold or lead or silver or lead. Yeah. How's those options treating you?
Man, that's insane, man. Poor Rigondeaux. But again, now that you mentioned that, I do wonder. There's a little doubt in my mind now about the Lomachenko fight. I don't know about you guys.
With what? Fighting who?
Well, Rigondeaux fighting, the fact that he quit against Lomachenko. Now you're telling us that there might be. I don't know. I'm just
embarrassing.
I'm just putting it out there.
You know what I hate? I hate when I see people talk about the size differential. And then, you look at the kid, the Chinese or the Japanese kid, the face, he broke the kid's jaw. That kid was, 4 inches taller than Lomachenko? You know what I mean? And he fucking tuned that kid up. And it wasn't like Lomachenko was leaning on him. Lomachenko played angles. He's got that footwork that's just insane. The kid's a prodigy. When you have other professional boxers like Tim Bradley sitting there just repeating himself, going, oh my God, oh my God. You know what I mean? Think about that.
Right.
This is Tim Bradley. You know what I mean? Whether, whatever you think of him, he still is what he is. And I'll tell you right now, Mickey, when I talked to Mickey about it, Mickey's like, dude, that shit's crazy. Mickey said, I wonder if that kid was beat every time he did something wrong when he was growing up. You know what I mean? His father doesn't look like he has much of a, fucking sense of humor. But no, his kid's a prodigy. It's all his footwork. I bet you he's a good dancer. I bet you he's got excellent rhythm. All your best fighters have good dancers.
Well, he
His
did
father
train.
put him into dancing when he was younger.
What's that?
His father put him into dancing, Ukrainian dances, when he was younger.
Yeah, that's the story that his father said. Before you box, you gotta learn how to dance, and so he put him into like.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Is that true? Swear to God, is that true?
Yeah, I'm not kidding, man.
You said that's just not.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, no shit, no shit. You see, I'm big on that, dude. My grandfather, God rest his soul. He's in the. I told you he's in the.
And basketball that relates to good foot skills in boxing.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Well, I think I said this last time.
Basketball.
Well, Sugar Ray fucking Robinson retired in the height of his career to fucking go become a professional dancer in Hollywood. I mean, that dude could dance. I mean, there's video out with him and Fred Astaire doing, dancing. So he was. It's got, like my grandfather used to say, because obviously we have a lot of Irish Lowell kids here. He used to train, right? And I remember he used to say his thing was, for every 10, or give me one, what would you say? Oh, give me one athletic kid with some rhythm instead of these fucking Irish cement heads who can take a beating. Because that's what man was just full. All these kids just had no rhythm. You know what I mean? He would put music on, and that was like, let me see, can you dance? And they would be surprised by that. But my grandfather, he was training since the 1930s, and he always knew that rhythm and footwork is so important. Because if you break boxing down to fighting to its nature, it's a violent rhythm dance. It's a symbolic, symbiotic, rhythmic dance of violence. You're trying to time it, it's all about the timing. So that's all dance, it's all music is timing.
Mm-hmm.
The best musicians, the best guitarists have the best timing. The best drummer is a British guy, Ginger Baker, that nutty prick. Lives in South Africa now. But if you ever watch his videos, all he talks about is timing. So I'm so on into that, man. If you're a good dancer and you can take even a decent shot, I'm telling you, get into boxing because you'll do real well. And that doesn't surprise me that his father. No, I'm really appreciate you told me that. That's fascinating because it's so true.
Yeah, Apology Man. He's the one that pointed that out, and it's true. I mean, they've talked about it on HBO and ESPN. Every time Lomachenko fights, they mention the dancing background. But recognize, what did you say that it's basketball and what else for good footwork?
Say again?
You said that it was dancing and basketball, right? For good footwork.
Yeah, there's something. Going back to what three-piece boxing was saying, there's something about timing. I wish I would have known this earlier when I was, when I was boxing and wanted to become pro and all that. Timing is so. It's so like it's probably the most important from my experience. It's the most important aspect of boxing. You know what I'm saying? If you can get the timing down, you can just about beat everything. Speed,
100%,
power, and all that. But dancing and basketball. Like when I came to live in the States, I got into basketball because it was just a fast pace, back and forth. But as I started playing basketball, I noticed that my footwork, and this was by accident, basically. It was just basically by accident. I noticed my footwork was much better, especially for kickboxing. When I would kickbox, for some reason, it just, the shifting back and forth, especially for kickboxing, which is most importantly shifting stance, the back and forth, it was key. But in boxing, yeah, it definitely helps. Man. It definitely helps your footwork.
That makes 100% sense. You ever see that movie Hoosiers with Gene Hackman? I don't know. It's an older movie from the, I think, late 80s. Hoosiers. Yeah, the Hoosiers. He takes it over and he's kind of a dink coach, and he's going to break these guys down, and you're going to learn fundamentals. And if you watch the drills he does, it's similar. You could see where it would help in boxing because he has them, for defensive stance. He's having to do all these drills around chairs in the stance, almost you would have during boxing. And it's all he was teaching them was balance. You have to have your balance. And I remember watching the movie thinking, wow, a lot of that could be applied to boxing because it's all about balance. And you're 100% right, because I don't think McGregor, I always say timing, and I've heard, fucking Conor McGregor said it too, but so it's not like McGregor came up with it. He's just the first I heard say it, but timing beats speed and precision beats power.
That's right.
Every time.
That's
you know what I mean?
100% right. Yep.
You guys know that Anderson Silva, guys, you watch UFC, but Anderson Silva used to be a ballerina.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Huh. A ballerina. How about Miguel Cotto? He was sparring with a tutu. Does that maybe that's why he had the
Yeah.
So Anderson Silva was a ballerina. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Marvin Hagler's a good dancer too. Yes, sir.
I know you used to box. My father used to always do this, right? He said, "Frank, I want you to count in your head. Go 1, 2, 3, throw a punch. If the guy hasn't thrown a punch."
Excellent.
He goes, "Go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just keep forward, or if you have to back up a little bit, keep saying 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3." And
He's teaching him timing.
Boom.
He's teaching him timing. 1, 2. You get into that timing. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's
1, 2, 3.
Exactly right. My first name's Jimmy, by the way, guys. Just you know what I mean. That way, I feel weird. Like, is that you're Frank?
Yeah.
And now BDA, is that what everybody calls you? Because I don't, you know what I mean. I don't want to be rude. I know it's Stuart.
Mr.
Precise.
BDA. It's Mr.
Mr.
BDA.
BDA.
Yes.
I apologize.
I don't need to apologize. You know,
Where do I send the flowers?
I just had to set you straight. I had to set you a little
King
straight.
Bucho is your partner, right?
Well, he's not my life partner. He's my co-host.
Yeah, your co-host. You know what I mean, too.
No, the way you said it, man. The way you said it was a little weird. It was a little weird, man. A little weird. Faggot. No. Stop it. Who's playing the fucking sound effects? I don't play those sound effects, by the way. It's Gaia 500.
Yeah.
But getting back to the we got a couple of minutes left. We're gonna have to go soon. But the thing about that Recognize was talking about the 1, 2, 3 punch, 1, 2. That's the thing that always fucks me up. I guess it comes with experience, but not to getting to, avoiding getting into that rhythm. Because if you're fighting a guy that's got more experience than you, he can definitely time your rhythm up. So how do you guys vary that that timing, that rhythm during a fight?
Angles, change your angles, and don't always do the same thing. You're like, who does the same motion? Like you watch Danny Garcia. Oh my God. I can't believe people haven't, because he does the same thing. He does the same drop right before he throws his jab. He kind of does he's very robotic, very stiff. He's very, does the same thing over and over. And then there's guys like Lomachenko. He'll come at you with a different shoulder facing you, dips down just a little. And I'm telling you, to us watching on TV, it doesn't look like much. Mm-hmm. But when you change even just the slightest of what you're doing, it affects, because again, the other guy's trying to time you. And if it's like trying to time something, it's trying to listen to a song and the beat's all over the place. How do you dance to a beat that's, you know what I mean? It's like, I can't get into this timing. And you could see what happened to Rigondeaux. You could actually see it wash over his face. He's like, I can't even get set. I can't even get into a fucking timing. I can't even break a sweat. And once it got to the point where he realized he was getting embarrassed, his pride took over. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you right now, as you guys know, that was the worst thing he could have done. He should have taken a shot and pretended to be knocked out. He would have had less, you know what I mean? Because that burned him.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking burned him. Put on his stool. And how many guys has he done that to now? Isn't it like the 5th guy in a row?
4th, yeah. I think it's the 4th. Going back to that whole timing thing and giving different angles. Look, I'm not here to predict what Lomachenko's career is going to end like. That's I'll let that shit play out. But this is the one guy that I've seen, and I say, man, what was it that made him a master at that? Like, literally, he looks like a master in there with the different angles and just confusing the hell out of his opponents. You know what I'm saying? Like, to the point where it's almost a mismatch. We're talking about professionals here, and it's
exactly.
Becoming a mismatch.
Check it also. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and just going back to the whole timing, the timing and different angles, three-piece boxing brought up. It's very important. BDA knows what you do when you have an experienced fighter, and he knows what you're doing, and he's getting your timing down. Well, that's really when that part of going 1, 2, 3 and that's when you're training. That's when they're teaching you how to box. As you start to get to like different levels, and maybe three-piece experience is the same way. Like once I learned the basics, then as you start going to different levels of boxing, you know that becomes a drill. At least in my
Exactly.
experience with my father.
Exactly.
You know,
It just
like,
everything
I
gets
want you
exactly.
to give different angles and go 1, 2, 3, boom. If your opponent hasn't thrown anything, start throwing something.
Exactly.
It is not one of those slow 1, 2, 3s. It was like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and start punching him if he's not throwing anything.
And
it's about I think it's about learning the fundamentals so that later on you could break those fundamentals and you could understand why you're doing that. And
Exactly.
like if you look at Picasso, for example, before he started painting all that weird shit, he was just a realist. He painted like everybody else starts out painting. He just painted as realistically as possible before he started, breaking away from that and doing something crazy. You got to lay down yeah. You got to lay
abstract
down the
art, right? I think that's
foundation. Yeah, you got to lay down a foundation, and then you could do extra stuff once
Exactly.
you got the fundamentals down.
That's why
100% on the money.
I've loved speed fighters from the beginning of liking boxing. The speed fighters, because that's what I always try to mimic. I always try to mimic that style, that letting your hands go fast. I'm not talking about shoe shine, punches that really mean nothing. I'm talking about, from point A to point B, full knuckle on the face. I've always admired guys like that. That's why I find Lomachenko to be an amazing fighter. Like that's just like, we don't know how his career is going to end because we don't have a crystal ball.
I think he's gonna. If he doesn't, I don't see the only concern I had with him was, is America going to affect him? The money, the glamour, as he gets bigger. Obviously, he's not a fucking superstar like other sports. But I was worrying. That was my only concern. Is his father have enough of a grasp on him where he's not gonna? But he trains like a mental case, and say you're rigging now with him. Like we were just talking, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you fight Lomachenko, there's no 2. There's 1, 2, 3. What happens to the 2? You know what I mean? So he's dancing around in front of you, and he's changing his angles, and he knows when to throw the jab. He sees you set, and he's always ready to either poke you just a little, and it doesn't hit you hard. And that's the thing too. People think everything has to be hit hard. You just give someone a smack in the face when they're going to get their timing down or setting their feet to throw their offense. They have to reset. Okay, how good you are. Every time, you know what I mean? Exactly. So he knows, like Precise said, it's all, if you look at it, it's just fundamentals, and it's just broken down and then expanded upon it's like fundamentals where he does things in second nature. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't think about it, it just becomes second nature. Same thing if you learn guitar, you start out with scales, and those scales eventually turn into riffs, and then, doing, all that other shit. So it's just like that, but you're 100% right, Precise. It's all, he just has the Russians do that with hockey. I remember when I was a kid, because I played hockey too, the Russians, they didn't even touch a puck, I think we were told when we were kids, a Russian coach came and talked, until they were 12 years old. So that means from 8 years old till 12, all they did was practice skating drills and shit like that. Until they didn't play a game until 12. All they did was practice for 4 years. So
hey Jimmy,
that's why
I'm always right, brother, and extremely modest, very modest. Just fucking around. But we were talking about given our predictions of what Lomachenko, Pacquiao, the potential fight could sell on pay-per-view. Now I want to ask you guys, what do you think Wilder Joshua would do on pay-per-view in US? What kind of numbers?
I think it'd do pretty good. I think it would.
Million? Does it crack a million? 1.5?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I think it hit 1 million. I think it would. Yeah.
Well, check this out. To my point, because when I said 1.2, you guys were kind of like, really? Some of you guys, anyway. Check this out. So Deontay Wilder, and this is only New York, so take it for what it is. But Deontay Wilder sold, with Luis Ortiz, sold like what? Legitimately 7,000-8,000 tickets, something around there. It looks like Lomachenko Linares is going to sell 15,000. So
the reason why I say that is because the number one sports show here is 98.5 Felger in Mass. It's an afternoon, talk show, sports here in Boston. And the only time they talk boxing lately has been Wilder, because one of them, I guess, got into it, and now they, once a week they talk about the Joshua fucking Wilder update, which is crazy. Like I said, they never talked about what happened is after the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. I remember the next day on the radio because they went out and they said, "Never again are we talking about that sport on this show again." I'm like, wow, that's great. But yeah, so they're actually even pushing it. So I do believe that because it's a heavyweight, if it doesn't do over $1 million, that's a sad fucking. That means Al Heyman really fucked Wilder bad. And everything fucking Eddie Hearn said. I'm sorry, what?
Isn't Loma versus Ramirez more competitive? That's why it's selling.
Right.
I don't know. That's a good question.
What do you think it'd do?
Not on paper. Not on paper it isn't. Wilder was a 3-1 favorite. Loma, I believe, is a 6-1 favorite. So on paper, it's not as competitive.
Oh, right. Damn,
but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but look, AJ is not a big star in the US at all. He's actually a third of the star if you want to go by Showtime numbers that Deontay is. But Pacquiao's a bona fide pay-per-view star still, you know what I mean? So he and Lomachenko, who seems to be a bigger star than Wilder, or on his way there, at least in New York, why wouldn't that sell? Why wouldn't that crack $1 million? I mean, I don't know, but it's just a projection.
Pacquiao,
you know what I mean?
Pacquiao Lomachenko? Oh, that would crack $1 million. Of course it would. I would bet my life. I bet my life that would hit $1 million. Pacquiao alone, because he's not fighting Jeff Horn. He's fighting Lomachenko. So exactly. I think, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that did fucking crazy viewer numbers when he fought Jeff Horn. It's almost kind of pisses me off, though. I almost don't want Pacquiao to do it. I just don't like what he's turned into, how he's handling things, and just, I don't know. It's all about the money. It's just like, dude, I can understand why from everything I read. He's got 100 hands in his pocket, but it's like, fuck.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on in his life. All we can do is look at what's been out there in the media and try to piece things together. But yeah, man, listen, Pacquiao, Lomachenko, could, if it's on ESPN, it does insane numbers.
Can I ask you guys something? Oh. Let me ask you guys something. There's a video out that Eddie Hearn did, right? Interview with Eddie Hearn. Did you guys see that? Where he's basically trying to explain to the reporters. It's on Fight Hype. Steve Kim tweeted it out. But it's about, that's how I know. And I watched it, and he was talking to this reporter. I just didn't know if you guys watch it, who the reporter is, because I'll tell you, if you guys watch it, he got like so offended when, because Eddie basically says, listen, because the reporter kept pushing, listen, why won't you take the $50 million? It's $50 million. And Eddie kept saying, because I want a meeting. I want to know where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? AJ's we built a brand. I've been with him from day one. I'm just not going to whore him out. He's you know what I mean? Is that too much to ask? And his kid just wouldn't get it. He just kept, it's $50 million. He's like, yeah, but where's it coming from? Is he going to make the fight and then try to, petition for the money? And then when he said, listen, and then Eddie Hearn turns around and says, if you look at the money that Wilder is making right now, he said he looks the part. He's a great, and of course he's trying to sell a fight. So he's selling up Wilder, but he's like, look at the money he's making. You're going to tell me he should be making 3 times that. And so then the kid reporter says, whoever it is, it's off camera, he's like, well, you're saying isn't that kind of a slap in the face to Al Heyman? Because wondering where the money's going to come from. Isn't that a slap in the face to Al Heyman? And so when he turns and says, you know what? I think you need to do your research. You're going to tell me the PBC's good? You know what I mean? And he's basically calling the kid out. But if you guys watch that video, maybe because you're on YouTube, you might know who it is. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. He just couldn't grasp it. It was crazy.
Fight Hype for a long time now. It used to have a message board. It used to have a message board back in the mid-2000s. But the owner of that website started to cozy up to Floyd Mayweather so much, just started really being up Mayweather's ass. And so I think he's trying to do the same thing with Wilder here. He's just trying to become a Wilder fan, so Wilder he gives him all the exclusives and all that, because it makes no sense. I mean,
well, didn't they call it Floyd Hype after a while?
Yeah,
is that what they called that station? Yeah, Floyd Hype.
Well, apparently one time Mayweather was, when he was going to fight Mosley, he was doing the round table with the journalists, and apparently one of the Fight Hype guys actually asked Floyd Mayweather, what type of trunks would you wear against Pacquiao? Like, that's his chance to ask Mayweather something, and that's the question he asked. I mean, I don't know. Look, listen.
Bag it.
Hey, I didn't. Yeah, do you want me to play the sound effect? Should I play the sound?
Hey, imagine if you would have asked, hey, when you kicked your wife, did you have like sneakers on or was that fucking dress shoes?
Hey, listen, guys, we gotta end on that note. We gotta end on that with that joke. We've been doing this, and we were supposed to do 2 hours, but then Jimmy jumped on, and we just had to do an extra one to get his thoughts.
I apologize, Jim.
No, don't apologize. It's good having you on. And also, next time, come on board, and want to get your thoughts on Jacobs versus Sulecki, because that was a fucking good fight, man. So
yeah, no, that was good. He was better than I thought he was going to be. That's for sure, Sulecki. But I just don't think Jacobs trained hard enough. I mean, took him serious enough. That's just my opinion. I think he was surprised by him. But I know you got to go.
Yeah, well, we'll come back anytime, man. You got some great.
Yeah, no, when's the next time you're going to be on? I want to make time for this because I have nobody to talk to, in my life with boxing. So
right,
on a daily basis. So this is good therapy for me. When's the next time you plan on being on?
Probably at the latest, it would be Wednesday. Wednesday at about
excellent.
5
so
p.m.
Wednesday, all right, I'll count on Wednesday. What, 5 p.m. you said?
5 p.m. or 6 p.m. Yeah, Eastern time.
Excellent. All right, I'm gonna skip. Yeah, definitely. It's a good time. You guys are good guys, all of you.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Appreciate you being here, and I also appreciate
gentlemen.
Everybody else who came along here. Also, Recognize the Matrix. Shout out to Recognize. Check out his channel on YouTube. We're gonna put the link on the description. Or in the description. Shout out to Apology Man as well for joining us. Shout out to Stu Little, who was here earlier. Precise Puncher as well. Check out Precise's channel. That link also on the description. Check out Cameron Gillion's channel also.
Peace, my brothers.
All right, see you, Recognize. And Jimmy, you got a Twitter, right? Do you tweet? Oh fuck, he just left.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you're still
yes.
All right. Piece. So check out 3 Pieces Twitter page for all his tweets and his opinions on boxing. Hope to have you on the show again, 3 Piece Jim. We're gonna get your opinions on last night's fights. Also want to thank King Bucho, who is here, and of course can't forget everybody in the chat room. I think it's the best chat room in the fucking world. Nicola Ferrari, Rotti Davies, Boxing Battenberg, Hawker Mustang, Mr. Coxey, Casey Robinson, Michael Stott, Pavel, Kachnello, Give Me My Fight was in there as well. Gangsta 003, Boxing Fairy Tale, Del Boys Boxing News, I think he was there. Boxing Kills TV, Stephen Schneider, Hakuna Matata, The Quags, who also was there most of the 7-hour broadcast we did last night while we were watching the fight. 1-2 Kid. You guys know who you are. You make this fucking show the best show, in my opinion, that there is. Poe Johnson as well, Casey Robinson. Guys, we gotta go. Thank you for joining us. Have a good Sunday. Enjoy your Sunday. And we'll see you on the next one, folks. Take care. Thanks for joining us.